Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the September 17th meeting of the Select Board. We are being recorded. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, a couple of quick housekeeping announcements before we start. For those of you who are not with us in the building, it is curriculum night here at the high school. So you, from time to time, may hear the bell ring and ask people to move on to the next location or class. That's not for us, but we are glad to be here. And it's very well attended. When I pulled into the parking lot, I thought, could it be that all these people are here for the Select Board? Alas, not such luck, but here we are. All right. Also, very quickly, I would like to acknowledge that tonight is my husband's birthday, and he's home with the kids. And
happy birthday, John.
Happy birthday, John.
What a great place to be.
And I know we did this on David's wife's birthday, for example. Just acknowledge the support structure it takes for all of us to be here all the time and how appreciative we are for that support structure so that we can serve you guys. So hats off to John and all the other supports that we have. All right, moving on to a reading of the National Hispanic Month Proclamation. Would any of my members care to do the reading?
Sure.
Thank you, Doug.
National Hispanic Heritage Month, proclamation by the Select Board. Whereas each year Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month by celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, Central and South America, and whereas for the first time in our town's history, we recognize Hispanic people here and anywhere in the United States, as we pay respect to the cultures and populations and celebrate the contributions of all Hispanic peoples to the culture of diversity, innovation, and resilience that has had an indelible impact on the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and United States. And whereas the observation started in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Lyndon B. Johnson and was expanded by President Ronald Reagan in 1988, through the legislative encouragement of Congressmember Esteban Torres of California to cover the period at which it is celebrated today. And whereas nearly 480 years ago, the recorded Hispanic heritage has been a part of the DNA of American culture with undeniable influence in education, public safety, infrastructure, economic development, culinary arts, and governance. And whereas, in the words of Cesar Chavez, preservation of one's own culture does not require contempt or disrespect for other cultures. Just a pregnant pause, purposeful there for a minute. And thus celebrate the contributions of the robust Hispanic diaspora, to include Spain, Puerto Rico, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Panama, El Salvador, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Paraguay, Peru, Uruguay, Venezuela, and now therefore, on behalf of the entire Select Board, we do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th, 2025 as National Hispanic Heritage Month in the town of Swampscott, Massachusetts, and encourage all faith-based and nonprofit organizations, residents, businesses, and public institutions to acknowledge, honor, value, and celebrate Hispanic people's historic and current contributions locally and beyond, while also recognizing the ongoing and interconnected struggles of all Hispanic communities locally and beyond. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused to be affixed the Great Seal of the town of Swampscott, Massachusetts, the 17th day of September 2025. Swampscott Select Board, Katie, David, Mary Ellen, Danielle, myself, and Gino.
Thank you, Doug. I guess, given the pregnant pause, I will just comment also that these proclamations are not perfunctory, right? They're meaningful to the board and they're meaningful to the town to acknowledge the different cultures, the different nationalities, the different religions, even the different struggles. We have all sorts of, mental health proclamations and they're important to remind folks to look outside themselves, right? If it's not. Sorry. Okay. So I would love if, just to make that point and to acknowledge that each of these is presented to the public, to acknowledge, to look outside yourself and to acknowledge the beauty and love and kindness in other cultures and things that affect us. So
Here, here.
Thank you. All right, so moving on to the town administrator's report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am pleased to offer the following report on programs and initiatives that are ongoing in the town of Swampscott. Town administrator report. This past Thursday, September 11th, the fire department held a memorial ceremony honoring those who were lost on September 11th, 2001. Members of the public as well as staff were in attendance. Thank you, Graham. Yep, instrumental in that. I met with the library union last Wednesday to continue collective bargaining.
Sorry.
Okay. That's my pause. This was our third bargaining session. Future bargaining sessions will be put on hold until our new town administrator can attend. Sheila Billings, with the assistance of DPW staff, painted a wonderful mural on the DPW garage wall facing Paradise Road. We have received a lot of positive feedback regarding the mural. She'll be wrapping it up this week. She's got the mural painted. Now she's just going to put a little description on the bottom that says, "Public Works makes it happen."
Yep. Big blue wave.
Here is big blue wave. Yeah. Very good. Trash update. The Teamsters and Republic Services met again last week with a federal mediator. Unfortunately, nothing positive resulted from this meeting. Republic provided expanded services to the town of Swampscott last week, which included curbside yard waste pickup. However, as been the norm, several streets were missed due to the new drivers not being familiar with the routes. If a residence was missed last week, please contact customer service or the DPW office. The DPW yard will continue to be open for recyclable drop-off on Fridays from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. and both Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. DPW, the SRF grant application, which is on the consent agenda tonight for the board to sign. The DPW, along with its consultant Kleinfelter, has applied for a $3.5 million grant to continue rehabilitating compromised sewer mains and laterals that may be contributing to bacterial discharge onto Kings Beach. Aqueous Infrastructure Management's team of divers was in town this week and cleaned the bottom of the water tank of the sediment. There wasn't a lot of sediment there. Last cleaned probably about 3 years ago, but they said there was about a quarter-inch of sediment in the bottom of the tank. Replay Maintenance USA was in town late last week to repair the torn seams in the turf field at Bloxage. And Grenice & Sons was on Essex Street over the past couple of weeks making repairs to the sewer main as part of the Phase 2A Stacy Brooks Sewer Main Rehabilitation Project. Community Development, Pine Street. B'nai B'rith has submitted a comprehensive permit application to the zoning board and a notice of intent to the Conservation Commission. On Tuesday, September 16th, the ZBA held its first public meeting to hear the petition. Town staff worked closely with the ZBA to secure funding from the Massachusetts Housing Partnership to engage a consultant with expertise in Chapter 40B permitting. Hawthorne Forum. The second public forum on the Hawthorne redevelopment project will take place on Thursday, September 18th, tomorrow, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the Swampscott High School Auditorium. I invite all residents to attend and view the latest renderings of what the redevelopment could look like. Master Plan Forum. Please save the date of Wednesday, October 16th for a public meeting to discuss updates to Swampscott's master plan. The meeting is tentatively scheduled to be held at the new elementary school. This will offer residents an opportunity to both help shape the vision for Swampscott's future and tour the new school facility. More details will be shared soon. Library has onboarded 2 new employees, Nathaniel Snow, who is the new library assistant, and Whitney Wilkinson, the new library aide. There is still a full-time position open for head of technical services. Bids were open for the library entry redesign project on September 12th. The contract has not been awarded as references are being checked. However, MJS Construction is the apparent low bidder. The library has resumed Saturday hours as of September 13th and will be open every Saturday until May 30th, 2016. Saturday hours are from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Murder Mystery Program with Delvena Theater Company was a success, with almost 50 patrons attending the Whodunit. With September being National Library Card Sign-Up Month, the library is partnered with local businesses to provide discounts to patrons who show their library card during the month. If you need a library card, come to the library to sign up and learn more about this exciting initiative. Local businesses who would like to partner can reach out to the library to be included. Please check the library's website for more information. Health has offered 3 new programs this summer: Gentle Yoga for Adults, Slow Flow and Restore Yoga for Adults, and Meditation for Adults. All 3 programs are supported through ARPA funding. New program includes free support groups and free group therapy program for Swampscott residents 18 and above in coordination with And Still We Rise. The annual high-dose flu clinic for ages 65 plus will be held on Thursday, September 25th from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Senior Center. Registration is required. Please visit the Health Department's website or call the Senior Center at 781-596-8866 to register. Recreation. The town-wide yard sale is this Saturday, 8 a.m. to noon, with a rain date of September 27th. Visit swampscottrec.com for the map of participating locations. The 6th Annual Porch Fest is also scheduled for this Saturday, September 20th, featuring 26 locations with 35 bands. Visit swampscottporchfest.org for the schedule and the map. New this year, the Swampscott Doggy Dip on Eisman's Beach. Dogs, big and small, are invited to celebrate the return of dogs to the beach. There will be giveaways and locals selling goodies, treats. Log on to swampscottrec.com for times and rules. The annual Swampscott Classic Car Show is scheduled for Sunday, October 12th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., with a rain date of Sunday, October 19th, same time, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Human Resources. Human Resources conducted a workers' comp audit. The workers' comp audit was recently completed by Mary Ann McMaster for the Massachusetts Education and Government Association. Information required for this audit included description of operations, list of all employees, duties of each employee, employee earnings reports, and quarterly payroll tax returns. DEI updates. We are in the final stages of our strategy sessions. Over the past 2 Fridays, Ready Set has had 2 calls with Danielle Leonard, Marianne McMaster, and Charlotte DeHart. They were given homework for each call. Marianne has submitted the objectives and goals this week, and she will be completing the actions, accountability measures, and metrics for each object. Once that is finished, Ready Set will review the content and draft our roadmap. Recent hires. We recently hired a library assistant, as I mentioned earlier, Nathaniel Snow, a library aide, Whitney Wilkinson, and a recent hire was the land use and development planner, who was yet to start, but will be starting on October 1st, Timothy Milken. We still have a few open positions, such as the town accountant, assistant town accountant, the town assessor, the head of library services, public safety administrative assistant for both police and fire, although that's just one opening. The fire department is planning for 3 to 4 new hires due to minimum manning requirements, and the police department currently has 4 vacancies. Fire currently is in the process of filling the aforementioned administrative assistant position. Police department. The entire police department successfully completed mandatory active shooter training at the former Hadley School. This was done with the assistance of Max Gasper. Thank you, Max. Oral boards will be held on Monday, September 22nd. 8 candidates are scheduled for the oral boards. A newly hired student officer will begin the NECC Academy on October 14th, 2025. Traffic calming controls were installed on Franklin Ave at Stetson Ave, as well as Norfolk Ave at Stetson Ave, to continue to address speeding on all 3 streets. And finally, I'd like to mention, with immigration enforcement issues escalating around the country, I'd like to brief the Select Board on the Swampscott Police Department's policy regarding federal immigration enforcement. The Swampscott PD will not assist ICE or our federal law enforcement partners in immigration enforcement measures. Accordingly, the Swampscott Police Department will also not impede or obstruct ICE or our federal law enforcement partners with their operations. We have Joe Cable in the audience, and he can elaborate more if the board pleases.
I think that would be helpful for a couple minutes. I know there was a lot of alarm, with what happened in Marblehead. It's been happening in Lynn, probably in Salem too. So I think it would just be good to make sure that people are aware of what to do and what not to do.
1 second, Captain Cable. Could we get Captain Cable a microphone, please?
That's what I said.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. That way the folks at home can hear this very important message.
Okay. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here and address this critical issue right now. I know it's very important to our community. Chief Casada regrets his inability to attend. He had a mandatory and pre-scheduled training today, but he has directly involved himself in this particular thing. This discussion isn't directed or brought about by any recent ICE activity in Swampscott or anticipated activity in Swampscott. We have no information that they intend to conduct any operations here at this time. However, they have not generally been advising local police departments ahead of time, so we have prepared our set of policies to be sure that we're ready when it does happen. While we don't usually get notified by ICE, we have requested that they do so. The Chief of Police did that directly, since a lack of notice could create a dangerous situation. The question of what role does the Swampscott Police Department have in federal immigration enforcement, the short answer is absolutely none. The Swampscott Police Department's sole focus is on the safety and well-being of our residents, and we understand that that goal requires trust and confidence in interacting and providing information with us. And that trust and confidence is best achieved by ensuring all persons, especially witnesses and victims, are willing to cooperate and provide information to us, regardless of any immigration status concerns. For this reason, we leave the enforcement of immigration law to those tasked with enforcing it at the federal level. The Swampscott Police does not share any information at all regarding immigration status with any federal agency. No person making any report to the Swampscott Police need have any concern whatsoever that their interactions with us will result in any information being shared. The Mass SJC issued a decision in 2017, Commonwealth v. Loon, that established there is no role for local or state law enforcement enforcing civil immigration law. The case went so far as to call any detention made in such a case to be an unlawful arrest. Federal law enforcement cannot require assistance by local law enforcement. There are several Supreme Court cases that say that they cannot commandeer local police. But there's also 3 statutes under 18 U.S.C. that would prohibit the police from interfering with federal immigration enforcement. ICE even recently targeted a police officer in Maine, as you're probably all aware, with local officials and the police being powerless to intervene. So for the Swampscott Police, what our residents can expect is that we will not in any way be actively sharing any information that would result in federal enforcement agents becoming aware of anyone's immigration status. We know that these situations, if they do come to town, will be emotional and volatile, and we will meet our basic obligation to ensure peace and safety. This includes the safety of the public and law enforcement officers on the federal level. Our residents can be assured that we will document any scene we respond to ensure the courts have the information needed to ensure fairness, justice, and accountability. However, everybody has to understand that we cannot tolerate chaos or physical obstruction or physical assaults, and we will not allow that to persist. But we will be understanding and patient to the greatest extent possible in any such emotional scene. Is there any questions as to that?
Thank you very much, Captain Cable. I appreciate that. Just one thing in terms of, I know it's many people are wondering whether or not what they should do if they witness something happening. Can you just briefly comment in terms of what people should and shouldn't do in that situation?
Absolutely. First of all, if anybody sees anything happening, especially some of these raids where we've seen with plainclothes people and masked people, don't approach, don't assume that it's anything, and just call us. And as I said, we'll respond, we'll document the scene, we'll be recording it, and we'll ensure everybody's safety. Certainly feel free to record federal law enforcement as you would us, and document the scene and make sure that everybody's rights are respected and everybody's treated appropriately, but no one should attempt to intervene personally.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Captain Cable? Thank you, Captain Cable, appreciate the update.
Thank you.
How
Thank you.
about any other questions for, on the town administrator's report?
I have just one,
Please.
it's really under DPW, 3.5 million grant.
It's an SRF loan.
It's a loan,
Yep,
I want to get everybody excited.
no,
But it's a loan at a very low interest rate, and we are very lucky to be able to get it.
well, hopefully we'll get it.
Hopefully we'll get it. We're applying.
We applied in August, right?
Yep, for the first step. Hearing it's going to be very competitive this year.
Cool.
Don't forget, the PTF has a QR code, a giant sign in the main lobby that you'll be renovating the main lobby. So please don't be afraid to
Superintendent Kelly?
Yes.
check that out anyway. But we are at period 4. Thank you.
Danielle, did you have any additional questions? Anything?
No, I don't.
Okay. Doug?
I'm reluctant to ask anything because I don't want to delay the meeting at all for you. But
Good.
and this may be, if it gets to be too complicated, we can pick it up next time. What is the status of the schools and the Clark School and the use and the lease and that whole situation? If that's a larger topic we should pick up next time,
Yep,
that's
yep.
fine, but,
But it's actively being worked on right now.
because there was a lot of discussion we had at one point about what we would do and moving into the town or not, and what to do with it and all of that, so I don't want to
It's under the jurisdiction of the schools.
I understand.
Right now, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last conversation where it left was that we were perhaps muddling over the idea of having a grand sort of
Right.
meeting with school committee, with Max and his team and all the parties. And so if that is still the direction that the majority of stakeholders that we've polled thus far want to do, then we should get that on the books for November
Correct.
or October.
Yep. And maybe in the short term, we may be running some rec programs out of the building.
Cool, thanks.
I just have one question, and it might be a follow-up, but is there an update on the track?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
So I know when Aggregate came and spoke to us, they were interested in some philanthropy work. And I know the track is a big expense.
Yep.
So if we could find out what the cost of the track may be, and perhaps there's a partnership that we could engage Aggregate to help us defray some of those costs in, I believe it's repair/replacement.
And doing some, yeah, I did get an
Whatever.
estimate last year for it, and it ranges depending on the amenities from $1 million to $1.5 million.
Beautiful.
I know.
Right, so, maybe, I don't know how deep Aggregate's pockets were when they made that, voluntary statement, but, let's see, and maybe they could start us off on our fundraising efforts for the track, at the very least.
Okay.
Okay.
And the other thing is whether or not it will qualify for any grants.
Yeah, let's,
Check with Marzi.
Check with
Marzi, yep.
On that one.
fantastic. All right, let's move on if there's no objections to public comments. I know we have a couple of people here for public comment, but I will just read very quickly. We had a public comment emailed to us, which is always an option. You can email selectboard@swampscottma.gov prior to or during the meeting, and we will read public comment. Well, not during the meeting, but if you get it to me before the meeting, we will. This public comment reads, "Hello, Andrea Moore, Precinct 3. Attached I have a photo showing the disrepair that the swings at Linscott Park are in. Less than half of the swings are functional. Tonight, there were about 8 children waiting to use these swings and crying, unable to use them due to the broken state of them. I know that there are plans in the mix for potentially changing or updating this with the new hotel, but I would humbly request that we have our current swing set in working order, as it is one of the most used playground sets in town. It is worth a couple $100s to get some new swings up as soon as possible. Thank you, Andrea Moore." Okay, next. Oh, sorry, I should have said before I started, Public comment will be 3 minutes, and please state your name and your address. Lou, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Louis Struzzulo, 48 Farragut Road, Swampscott. So my reason for wanting to come and speak to everybody is in regards to Forest Street, Laurel Road, and Nason Street or Road?
Mason Ave.
Nason Ave, sorry. Road.
Forest Ave, sorry.
There we go, okay. So the reason I wanted to come and speak, I understand that there is no parking signs up that have been in place, but many have been continuing to park there despite the restrictions, which I actually think that this was a good thing that happened, because in this situation, it has provided a valuable test that during the 30 minutes it typically takes to park, pick up your kids, there has been no safety hazards whatsoever. I have spoken with the police department to see if there was any safety issues, and they confirmed that there haven't been any safety issues. With that, as I see now, there is a police officer patrolling the area to ticket people if they park there, which came at request by residents, I believe. But with limited busing and fewer available spaces, it's becoming increasingly difficult for parents, especially those who work full-time jobs or need to step away from a meeting to pick up their children quick to get back to a meeting and to manage the situation. While some may suggest using the pickup line, that option has grown longer and longer, and it's more time-consuming as well. Also, walking and biking, it's sometimes not available for many parents as well. Additionally, for residents in the area, the presence of parents and kids for the brief 30 minutes window that it takes to pick up your kid and get them in the car and take them home has not caused any harm or disruption in this test trial that I claim is a test trial because people have been parking there. Kids exit, get in the car, and head home. There's been no significant impact or damage to the neighborhood in that area. Basically, I'm just asking for support to reevaluate this situation, especially with wintertime coming up. I see that if you look at the middle school, where the middle school is, there's plenty of parking. You could park all the way up there, but those spots are already taken for the middle school. There's no problem. But when you get closer to the new school, there's many signs that you're not allowed to park there. It only takes 30 minutes for someone to come in, get out, get the kid, and go. I mean, there has been no issues whatsoever. My biggest feeling is that with wintertime coming up, it's going to get increasingly difficult, especially if parents have to walk farther, park farther away. Less spots means if there's snow piles, all these things come into consideration. I feel that after speaking with the police department, I know that this was put in place, and I'm not 100% sure why, but they wanted to do a test trial, and a test trial wasn't done. But with this put in place, and now we see that effectively, without the signs, and with the cars still parking there, everything was fine. There has been no disruption to the neighborhood. There's been no disruption to knock on wood, any safety issues of anybody getting hurt. I mean, even with children biking, they're still supposed to bike on the
3 minutes.
Okay, one more thing with the biking.
Very, very quickly.
Yes. I also want to say parents, they really try and educate your child on safety. I've seen many kids without helmets and riding on the wrong side of the road. Parents, please do your best to educate your kids on the right side of biking. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Thank you. All right, it looks like we have public comment on Teams.
John Family?
No, that's not John, that's Mrs. Patz. Go ahead, you can unmute yourself, Jeannie.
Hi there. I just wanted to, I know sometimes the select board can't comment on public comment, so I thought I'd comment on public comment.
Could you just state your name and your address for folks?
Yep, sorry. My name is Jeannie Patz. I live on Nason Road, 29 Nason Road in Swampscott. I just wanted to comment. I saw some activity on Facebook regarding the parking by the elementary school, and I just wanted to remind everyone that the reason why this was originally put in place wasn't because of what necessarily, like what residents preferred. It was put into place by the police and the select board because of safety and clearance on each side of the street. So I haven't seen parents parking on Nason Road during drop off and pickup. I don't necessarily walk or see what's happening on Forest, but I know for the middle school, it's one side of the street is, typically occupied by parents doing drop off, rolling drop off at the middle school. So just to reiterate the original thought process behind this, having both sides of the street, whether it's Nason or Laurel or Forest, allow parking makes it so that there's no clearance for cars to pass. It's not just kids on bikes and kids walking, which is very important. That's the top priority, is the kids' safety, but it's also just being able to get down the roads and cars being able to pass on the left and right for drop off and pickup. So I just wanted to say that. So it's not because the residents, I'm sure there are residents that are adamant about not wanting cars on the street, but the majority of residents who live in this neighborhood just want everyone to be safe. So I just wanted to say that, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Rachel Teradash, 71 Middlesex Ave. It's not, I believe that there's no parking, it's that it's resident permit parking only. So the issue certainly isn't that nobody can park on the street. The issue is who can park on the street. And I think what Mr. Struzzulo was suggesting is that maybe anyone who needs to park on the street can park on the street, because it's not that there's no parking, it's that there's permit parking only. So, thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Is there any additional public comment?
No.
Okay, great. We will move on to new and old business with the very exciting first topic of the town administrator's contract. Doug, you want to take it away?
Okay, sure, I'll start.
Okay.
The last that the public was aware, we took a vote when we were at the senior center, maybe a month ago, I don't know. And that vote is, people will probably recall, was to move forward with two candidates, but in an order, first with Jason Silva and then with Nick Connors. And we went into executive session and proceeded through negotiations in that order. And I can imagine for many people, as it's been reported in many places, there was an assumption that would lead to an agreement with Mr. Silva, but it did not. And so there are, as you can imagine, many factors that come into that type of discussion, but we were not able to come to an agreement. And so we happily moved along to our second candidate, or candidate 1.01, and began a conversation with Mr. Connors and came to an agreement through those discussions. And so tonight we are here to approve, hopefully, I believe we will, a contract with Nick Connors as our next town administrator. How did I do?
You did great. I put Doug on the spot. He did not know I was going to ask him to do that, so you did fantastic.
Well, thank you very much.
To add to Doug's commentary, I would like to again reiterate that when the selection committee came forward with the three candidates that we interviewed, they stated very optimistically that all three candidates could fulfill the job of our town administrator. They each had different traits, characteristics that they felt made them a very strong candidate. And for lack of a better term, it was a personality choice for us. I have to say, again, reiterating the work that they did and the candidates that they brought forward, that that we had some great choices. We worked very well in this process as a group, as a select board. I'm also very proud to say that when we talked about hiring a town administrator, which is a very large task, we were realistic about our expectations. And, you know, some of that involved attention.
We are now done with period 4. We are heading to period 5.
I feel like things are getting faster.
We are now heading to period 5. On your schedule, go to the second column, and you're going to the first block at the top of the column on day B, period 5. Thank you.
This will be memorable for you.
I know. I promise they're not all like this. Yes, so to say I'm very proud of the board in the way that it came together to understand the benefits of each candidate and to figure out a way to sort of put that task on. Doug and I were the negotiation team that was nominated by the board to have conversations with each candidate. It was given very clear parameters to us where we could go, what we could go up to, what we could offer, and you know, we took that task very seriously. If we came to an impediment, we brought that to the board and had another conversation. So very proud of the board and how we all came together in this process. So thank you, each of you. Thank you for that. So does anybody have anything else to say?
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's really clear, because I can just envision people saying that we did this behind closed doors, and no, nothing was done behind closed doors. We had public meetings, there was a extensive process, we had 3 great candidates, we had we made a very clear plan. Katie and Doug had their marching orders on how to advance, and we just followed through on that. And this is our first public meeting, so this is the first time we can actually announce it. We weren't even in a position where we could do a press release because we didn't have a public meeting to have a discussion. So it's a good day here in Swampscott, and we are where we are.
So we did obviously take a vote in executive session to
Approve the contract.
appoint, to support the contract that we facilitated between us and future town administrator Nick Connors. And so now we take a vote in public session, which is how this typically works. So nothing new there. So again, to reiterate what Mary Ellen said, followed our consultants. We engaged a consultant for this process. The consultant made very clear steps that we had to follow. We followed those steps.
And use the consultant for market testing in
Yeah,
terms of
yeah.
what was appropriate and what wasn't appropriate, et cetera.
And a charter,
And the
And the
charter,
charter.
yes,
Follow the
obviously,
charter.
Yep, the consultant followed the charter, and we all did as well, so. All right,
Anything you want to-
any comments?
Motion to appoint and approve Nick Connors.
Okay, so we'll do that next. This is for just the contract. So the motion will be to approve the town administrator's contract.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 That is 4-0. David is at a work function tonight and is not here. But we are very glad to accomplish that item. And we move on to the next parallel item, which is discussion and possible vote and appointment of the new town administrator. So we have Mr. Connors here. He's joined us tonight. We've just spoken very highly of you. I hope you feel the same about us. It's too late because we just approved your contract. So if you want to come up to the microphone and just say a couple of words, we'd love that.
Good evening. I am excited. I'm happy to be here tonight and looking forward to it. I'm excited to join the team and to begin executing on the policies and priorities and objectives that you all have. And I'll be starting, I think it's October 6th is what we're looking at, which Gino is very happy about, I think. And I'm sure I'll be in touch with folks in advance of that, but I'll be around then from then on. So I look forward to working with everyone.
Thank you, Nick. I did try on Gina's behalf to get Nick to start on October 1.
Yeah.
Tried. I lost that battle. But we are very grateful for an October 6th start date. So we all have had the advantage of speaking to Nick multiple times because of the interview structure. But if anybody had any comments or questions, now's the time. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to appoint and approve Nick Connors as the next town administrator.
Second.
Great. Is there any additional discussion?
Well, I do think, we obviously want to make sure that there's no need for discussion about that per se. But we obviously need to really think about the rollout of, and Nick's onboarding. Obviously, Gino will be in a terrific position to help him with that onboarding, as will we, but we need to think about the public onboarding process as well. So to your point about, we've had a chance to get to know Nick. We also know very well that he's a good negotiator, and others will find out many things as we will get to know each other, but that will be an important part of the process for sure.
Yes, I think that's a point well taken. We've been in depth in this process, and so I assume that tomorrow people wake up and say, "Who is Nick Connors?" And so we will have to start answering some of those questions. So, and we will be very glad to. But in the meantime,
Yes.
I will take, let's see, all those in favor of appointing the new town administrator, Nick Connors.
Aye.
Aye.
Wonderful. Again, 4-0. Thank you, Nick, very much, and very glad to have you. Again, Nick will be starting 10/6, but will be available if we need him prior, to the extent that he is available. And we will work out a plan to make sure the community gets to know him as much as we have in these upcoming interviews.
Do we have any media here that we know of?
Zach
Zach's
is,
online.
Zach was on
He's not now, but.
from the item.
He might be on,
He might have logged off
Facebook.
as soon as we approved his contract to type that article,
Yeah.
so who knows?
Yeah.
All right.
Think about a press release.
Yep, we will coordinate a press release and all. Do we want to get a picture? Sure, let's get a
I
picture.
think he has one, doesn't he?
Well, let's get a picture all together, maybe.
Yep.
Let's do it quickly. Great suggestion, Chief Archer.
Well, I just happen to have my suit.
Great, great. If you wouldn't mind, little did you know. Gino, you can join us too for this.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Absolutely.
Do you have a most excited?
Let's see Gino be like,
Everybody smile, it's gonna go in the newsletter on Facebook. Perfect, thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. This will be the last time you make this long commute to us, so your commute homes will be shorter now.
stop selling it.
I can't. That's my, what's good cop, bad cop. Alrighty. Moving on to item number 3, the appointment of Patrick Letty as ex officio to the Retirement Committee. I have received a letter from the, on behalf of the Retirement Administrator from the Retirement Board, requesting an interim ex officio member of the Retirement Board be appointed. As we all are aware, but maybe need a refresher, Amy Sorrow, in her position as Finance Director, served as the ex officio member of the Retirement Board. And typically it would be filled by an Assistant Finance Director or Town Accountant, but right now that is a vacant position for us. So in the interim, they have asked that the Town Treasurer, Patrick Letty, be appointed. They They have also reached out to the Public Employee Retirement Administration Commission to make sure that Patrick can, as a town treasurer, fulfill this role. They have confirmed he has. So for anybody who may be wondering, just to let you know, we have confirmed that we are not violating any process or procedure by temporarily appointing Patrick.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, I guess I should have mentioned also, Patrick is also in favor of taking on the task, so.
Minor
This
detail.
is not a voluntold position. He was excited to take it on, and we are grateful for him for doing that. Okay, moving on to discussion and possible vote of the schematic design for 24 Reddington Street. We have in our presence Dixon Mallory, who is a principal of Delamar, who has been working with the town diligently. Yes, please. He's going to just grab the mic so that we can hear him. And we are presenting, he is presenting on behalf of Delamar Swampscott Hotel, the schematic designs for 24 Reddington.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and hopefully for those of you who were involved in the RFP, these plans won't look a whole lot different. Schematic plans are pretty much in line with what we had presented to the town as part of our RFP. Of course, more refined and detailed, but broad strokes, it should look pretty similar. And our architect, Richard Turlington, is also on the line for any technical questions that anyone want to have.
Would
Yeah.
you make Richard a presenter, Diane, so he can speak?
Yep, now I have to stop sharing.
Sorry, go ahead. Doug, did you want to make a comment real quick before?
Yeah, can we just frame up the context
Sure,
here?
yes,
In terms
please.
of the
Yep.
LDA, the stage this is, are we really looking for a vote tonight? Are we going to do this, a two-step, consideration? Just kind of, for me and for everybody, like, what are we thinking here?
Sure. So this is one of the early steps in the process under the LDA, the Land Development Agreement with Delamar for the Hadley Hotel building. As we've all, you may recall, we recently amended the LDA to include some changes to the pilot and changes to the timeline related to the due diligence period. Delamar is currently in their due diligence period, and we have the schematic designs were due to us. They've presented them. We have 20 days from when they presented them to us to approve them. Because of the October 1st holiday, we have had to push our select board meeting back a week, which means that if we do not vote today, we will need to ask the,
Delamar for a little
yes,
leeway.
we will need to ask Delamar for a little leeway if we do not vote to support it tonight. So that, just to set the scene for that.
And what happens next? What does this trigger? What are the ramifications? Either way, I mean, I'm not acting like it's a big deal,
Yeah.
but I just want to understand kind of, and if you don't know offhand, that's okay, but.
I have my folder here, Doug.
I don't know if, Dixon, you have, this part memorized, well, but just.
Sorry, what was the question?
Well, just like,
Like,
what
what's
happens after
next?
schematic design, we approve this, then what happens, the
Then I bel-
implications for our, how much more definitively committed are we, are you at this point? Just give people a sense of the overall process.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, from this meeting until plans are approved, and I believe there's another public hearing that has to take place, that doesn't really stop our schedule on the back end. We're kind of moving forward as is. Again, if there's something here tonight that is a huge red flag, of course, we'll try and address it. But we're moving forward, as per the LDA.
I just have a quick question. When is there a public meeting to review this? Where is Marzi?
Marzi couldn't make it tonight.
Oh, right.
She has a
another-
conflict. She has another meeting. So,
Hmm?
sorry, I will just.
Yeah, and maybe thank you, Mary Ellen, that kind of got to where I was going with this. if we were to approve it tonight, based on the time frame, we know from way back in the beginning, you know, especially people that live very close, you know, they have very particular interests in aspects of this. That seems like it would be complicated if we were approving it as is and there was no public, I mean, it's obviously on the agenda tonight, but not to have any real public meeting, seems to be a little dicey.
Is the calendar in the back of that?
No, because the calendar got adjusted when we adjusted the LDA.
Because I thought there's a line item for public.
There is the milestone.
Right.
I think there was 2 public hearings, right? That
Right.
we have to
Right.
present in front of the public.
Yep. All right, well, here it is, I have it. Okay, so, at the end of the due diligence period, Delamar was required to submit schematic designs, which they did. They are also required to submit construction drawings and specifications within 6 months of the end of the due diligence period. They have 15 months to obtain all permits and all financing, so long as that was not amended under the amendment to the LDA, which I don't believe it was. It just pushed it back because the due diligence period date got moved back. Within 15 months of the end of the due diligence period, they will execute the ground lease, which was an attachment to the LDA. From the execution of the lease, the expectation is about 50% completion within a year from the execution of the lease, which is 15 months from the end of the due diligence period. So we're looking at 27 months approximately, give or take, from the approval of the schematic designs.
And this would be the end of the due diligence period with the approval of schematic design?
No, we've already-
The due diligence period was,
It's already concluded.
the due diligence period ended.
Right.
Part of revisions to the LDA actually pushed the due diligence period out because of our negotiations of the amendment to the LDA. So the end of the due diligence period is what triggered the need for the schematic designs to be submitted.
Completed.
Yep, okay. So
Um,
that 27-month clock is kind of ticking.
Yep, exactly.
Correct.
So then they're looking for 27 months to 50% completion.
Percent completion, yeah.
Yep. And then substantial completion, which is a defined term of the LDA, is approximately 23 months from the execution of the lease, so another about 12 months thereafter. So now we're looking at 39 months from today-ish. We're looking at substantial to final-ish completion. And then the application for the certificate of occupancy. The certificate of occupancy is about 90 days. 90 days from the certificate of occupancy approximately is when the rent payments
Correct.
begin.
Yep.
And then 270 days from the certificate of occupancy is when the first payment in lieu of taxes
Yep.
payment begins. So that's like the whole timeline, soup to nuts. It's a lot, but you asked for it, so here it is.
I was only asking for the next step, but anyway, that's.
Okay, but it's important, I guess, Doug, to your point, it's important, again, because we live in these things a lot, we assume the public knows what we know, and they don't necessarily, they need the refresher. So it's important that we do that. So thank you for asking us to do that.
So how do we, so it brings us
So-
down to us, how do we make this happen to make sure that we're guaranteeing the public is
So
notified and?
how about we let Dixon present? I will, in the meantime, very quickly skim through the LDA to make sure that we have the public pieces correct and I'm not misquoting the LDA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, again, thank you very much for having me. I guess we'll start with kind of one rendering. Again, I use the term rendering lightly because the building has not changed a whole lot. What we'll be doing to the facade is really more repair, fixing, and cleaning up. The major changes to the facade will be new windows throughout the entire building, and the windows that we're contemplating throughout reflect those that were originally or aesthetically match the windows that were originally put on the building back in 1910, 1911 when it was constructed. The big change here is the addition of a elevator tower and stair tower that's in between the main building and the annex. Currently, neither building has elevators, and therefore neither of them are ADA compliant. So the construction of this elevator tower in between the two will allow horizontal conveyance and vertical conveyance between the two wings. And yeah, so that's really the major change. And that's really the only new construction on the exterior of the property that we'll be contemplating.
Can I ask a question? I mean, what really struck me about that, and I'm sure that's the way it is now, but those two big surfaces, no windows in them, is that really what you wanted, or because that's keeping it the way it is, or?
You mean here? Yeah. So, well, you'll see in the plans, but what we do on the rooms that are on those, against those walls, we put the bathroom on those walls. So you don't need a window in a bathroom.
Yeah.
If it's a big enough bathroom and you can have a window, that's great. But just think of the bathrooms being on those sides, a TV up against that wall, and that's kind of how you fill that blank void. So it does look odd, I agree with you. Not a lot of windows, but it really doesn't affect the layout of the rooms too much. And you'll see that as we divide up these classrooms, each room has two very big windows that face, in this case, out to the water, in this case, back towards the annex in town. So we'll get to that in a second. So this is all just detailing. So here is a site plan, and you'll see the existing site and land that we have to work with is actually not tremendously big, and a lot of that will have to be dedicated for parking. I think this plan shows 63 parking spots, I believe, something along those lines. So this playground back here, that all becomes main parking, parking up against that wall that faces Linscott Park. And we'll have kind of pick up and drop off for back of house right up against what's going to be the back of house function in the main building there. But Reddington has been now turned back to Dewey Road, so we'll have cars that come to the front of the building, and really the drop off hotel entrance will be here and here. Again, this is where that elevator tower is. So that will be the ADA access point into the building, both main and the annex. As we get further towards the water, this is all kind of outdoor dining, landscape, terraced area. Again, if we do need to get more parking, that's probably where we could shave a little bit of that back, because really the nicest area of this outdoor dining patio is going to be this corner here, because there you're looking down to the water and right onto the park. So again, not a tremendous amount of landscaping, unfortunately, because we'll have to have as much parking as we can.
Go ahead.
And you kind of said it, but this is just thinking again about the public process and whether or not this is much different than what people have already commented on. Is this, for some reason I thought maybe that we were talking about 80 spots before or something, but I may be misremembering that. So
No.
No, it was 60, so 60-ish. So the layout here, anything different in terms of what really was presented earlier?
No, not significantly. And we will have EV charging stations. That'll really depend where the best hookup point is, based on the power in the building.
So that the elevation, maybe we'll see that in different. Is that kind of cut into that slope right there?
Right here, yeah, that will have to get leveled off. So there'll be a retaining wall, which is kind of right there. So we'll have to get flattened out.
Dixon, can you speak a little bit about if you know how many trees you will be removing or would like to remove?
We looked at this. We actually don't have that many trees because a lot of them are technically in Linscott Park.
Right.
They kind of overhang the property.
Okay.
But no.
Okay.
One is dead right now, and will be taken down.
All right. Well, that's a Gino problem, future Gino problem.
Any more questions or? Yeah.
Remind us again how many rooms?
It'll depend on how many suites we decide to add in. So 56 to 59 is probably where it's going to shake out. So these plans are all kind of the as-built plans. So this is just how the building lays out today. So that's the basement. The first floor. And any questions on the original plans or any reason to? Okay. So here's some elevations. Again, the existing elevations. You can see the corridor that connects both buildings there. That's the only part of the building that's going to be removed.
Where are the mechanicals?
We'll get to that.
Okay, I'll wait.
Surprise.
Okay, so this is the basement of both buildings. And for those of you that have been in the building, the basement, especially in the main building, is kind of more of a sub-basement. It's kind of 3 feet down from grade. So here, our plan on this side is this classroom, which I believe is the science room. That is going to be kind of more of an informal bar, pub portion of the restaurant. And the kind of more a la carte dining room will be on this side of the, and that is where the current mechanical room is. And that kind of looks like the engine room of the Titanic right now with those 3 big steam boilers. So we are going to put a deck kind of at the same level as this basement across here. And these windows will be exposed right now. Those are all boarded up, and that'll bring natural light into the dining room. And again, I spoke about this earlier, but whether this outdoor dining area remains or gets kind of wrapped around this corner of the building to take advantage of the better views, we'll cross that road when we get there. Otherwise, for mechanicals, this is the real sub-basement where those 3 big boilers are. That's where a lot of the mechanicals will probably end up going in this new iteration. Bathrooms are here. And really the back half of the building, of the basement rather, this is all going to be kitchen and back of house function. Exactly how that gets laid out, where the kitchen is, where our offices are, storage, that'll all be refined. But right now that's all dedicated to back of house. Here you have the bathrooms for the restaurant. And here, this is actually an entrance. You step down off of the grade down to what we're going to have is our spa. So the spa will have a dedicated entrance. Of course, you can access it from inside the building as well, but that will have an entrance to the outside. And then here, this is, oh, did I do that? This will be just the fitness room, gymnasium, and again, the 2 elevators that run the length of the building. And in the basement of the annex, this is really just hotel rooms. And these lay out pretty nicely. Again, we have some much larger rooms here, 485 feet. Just for context, an average Marriott is around 325 to 375 square feet. Just kind of your standard Marriott hotel room. Of course, suites are bigger and some rooms are smaller. So that would be a big room. This is a very big room. That'll be most likely a suite or family room of 755 feet. And then facing the parking lot, these won't be the the best views in the house, but nevertheless, again, you see 365 feet, 290 a little smaller, 290, and then 365. So pretty good sized rooms all in. And again, it's an old building. Not all the rooms are going to be identical, but that'll allow us to have a mix of room types.
And those are fully in the basement?
No, they're again, the windows, kind of starts here. And the windows go up. So these will, of course, have like shatterproof windows. I mean, they'll kind of be like motel rooms. Think about at-grade hotels.
Doug, for context, the kindergarten rooms.
Yeah.
That's literally where we had our kindergartners.
Yep.
And this is going to be a silly kind of, just when you said like the science room is kind of becoming the bar, and then you got these boiler, have you thought about in any way, shape, or form keeping the school theme in any way as you kind of...
Very much so, yeah. I mean, the restaurant, how we thread that needle, you don't want to be kind of corny in a way, but of course we're going to be celebrating the history of this building as a school. No question about that. And we will be likely putting this building on the National Register of Historic Places as part of our historic tax accreditation. So we're not going to be shying away from the fact that this is a historic building in a school. Not at all.
Seems like it would be kind of a good name for the bar, like the science room.
I think it was the art room.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what it was before, but at least in recent history, it was an art room.
I remember on the original plans from
Okay.
1910, maybe it changed since 1910, but this was domestic science, not to be confused with international science. But
Oh, domestic science.
Science. Interesting.
Is that home ec?
I don't know. The evolution of,
Domestic science, home ec.
yeah.
Chemistry bar.
any other questions on the basement? So this is the first floor. Again, ADA access will come from the elevators, and we'll have kind of a grand staircase up into what's going to be our lobby, check-in front desk lobby. And the current gymnasium is essentially going to remain untouched. That'll become our ballroom. It's, we need to have a ballroom somewhere in the building, and it already is there. Fantastic, 25-foot ceilings with these really big windows that overlook the park that are, kind of glazed and boarded up right now. But, with new windows there, it's going to be a fantastic natural light flowing into that really big, grand room. And then, again, these are the kind of more conventional rooms. You see these classrooms are roughly 800 square feet, give or take. So we're putting a demising wall right down the...
Sorry, Dixon.
Period 7, leaving period 6 and heading to period 7. You're almost there. Skip homeroom. And go to period 7. Skipping homeroom and going to period 7. Thank you.
So as I was saying, these classrooms are roughly 800 square feet, and all we're doing is really putting a demising wall down the middle. So each room will have 2 very large windows. Right now, these are kind of the coat closets for the classrooms. On this side of the classroom, we can repurpose those as a bathroom. And to Doug's question earlier, what do you do with these big blank walls? We see we have the bathroom there. Oh, did that just move again?
There you go, Doug.
Yeah. And again, do we put the bed up, the headboard on this side of the wall and have the TV there, or vice versa? How those room plans finalize, that'll to be determined. But otherwise, these classrooms are all, you kind of see the point, they're all more or less the same size, and they all divide up just about the same.
Can you speak a little bit about the gymnasium, or you guys are going to really try to, I think the last time we spoke, you said we're going to try to keep the high ceilings. And
Oh yeah, no, we're not touching the
architecture in there.
Yeah, all we're going to do is we're keeping the stage here as well.
Yep.
No, we're not really touching. Well, we're going to touch the gymnasium, of course. We're going to renovate it, but in terms of reconfiguring it, not a whole lot.
Right.
Just cleaning it up and making it look more like a ballroom than an elementary school gymnasium. But in terms of the footprint of it, no, we're not really going to change much. The only thing that we may do is have because the kitchen, if you remember from the basement, is right below here, have some sort of little elevator, a lula, kind of a 1-story lift. They'll bring food up from the basement into the ballroom.
Great.
All right, moving on to the second floor. Again, the same story in all of these classrooms here, dividing them right down the middle. This row of classrooms just really gets divided up based on the window lines. So again, this room's going to be a little bit smaller at 275, and this room is 360, 345. So you're getting good-sized hotel rooms across the board. An annex is more or less identical, going vertical on all of its floors.
I see one on the second floor. I didn't notice on the first, handicap accessible.
Mm-hmm.
How many other rooms will be handicap accessible?
By code, you have to have one ADA room per room type on each floor.
Okay.
So if there's a suite, you'd have an ADA suite on that floor as well.
Okay.
All right, moving up to the third floor, there's nothing on the roof of the annex other than mechanicals and solar panels. The big change here is right now this portion of the school is above the ballroom, and so these rooms, there already is a terrace here, and these rooms will end up having natural, very nice sized terraces overlooking the park, which will be pretty, a nice amenity to have for those rooms. And this one's 536 rooms, so that could become a suite. Mm-hmm. And again, the same story with that line of guest rooms kind of facing the front of the building.
Yeah. The Doug Thompson room.
And finally, on the rooftop. So we had looked at the rooftop a number of different ways. Do we want to put a dedicated kind of roof room on top? Do we want to have a bar? Do we want to have a kitchen? And a lot of that stuff, it's obviously quite heavy, and reinforcing the structure to accommodate that was just going to be quite a lift, no pun intended. So what we're planning to do here is we have bathrooms, because you need to have bathrooms, so those will be in the far corner of the roof. So if you're standing outside of the front of the building, you really won't see those bathrooms. They'll be kind of tucked away. We're bringing this staircase that faces the water up one floor, because we need to have two forms of egress. So we have stairs here, and the stairs from the elevator tower. And then otherwise, this will be kind of an open sun deck amenity space that can be programmed any number of ways. We can have a mobile bar up there to service events. Can be rented out for private events. If it's not rented out, it can be used as just an amenity space for the hotel guests.
So a couple of things there, Dixon. So the only way to the roof then is via stairs?
Elevators.
Oh, those go up
Yep.
too, okay.
Yep.
And what are the big blank?
So this will be, because the roof, what do we have here? It's almost 4,000 feet, and in a 55 to 59 room hotel, having a roof deck that 10,000 feet of roof, it's too much, and it would almost feel like you're kind of swimming in a space, because we can't have that many people up there. We don't need to have 500 people on the roof. We don't want that. So could we add more? Some of this will likely get taken up by mechanicals, solar panels, plantings, whatever, however that all lays out.
And you said you might have a mobile bar, but otherwise it's going to be basically people self-serve coming up there in a way, or is there a possibility of a bar? That was like...
There's certainly a possibility of a bar.
In the future,
Yeah,
okay.
we had contemplated having a kind of a full kitchen here, like a finishing kitchen. Yeah, making that work is pretty difficult. So this is kind of where we're starting. Where we end up might be a bit more built out. Do we have a permanent bar kind of affixed here? Because that's be right up against the stairwell, the extended stair. To be determined. Again, we got to figure out plumbing, water, getting it up and out of the space.
So is this enclosed?
No, this is open.
What did you mean by enclosed, Mario? Roof or railing?
The roof totally less similar to Mission on the Bay? Enclosed by glass or something?
No, this is all open. I mean, can we have umbrellas, maybe a pergola system up here? Yeah, absolutely. But it's not going to be an enclosed space that can be used 12 months a year. It'll be a seasonal roof deck. Because for the bigger events in the winter, of course, we'll try and push them to the ballroom gymnasium.
And so you said about solar, is going to be all solar on...
Roof of the annex.
Yeah, definitely there. And then back to mechanicals, like how you electrifying this, like what's the status of that again?
Yeah, so in the newest hotel that we just opened in Mystic, we have electric heat pumps there, all new system, and those, I guess we haven't had a big winter there yet, but that's likely what we'll go with, some sort of heat pump system, electric heat pumps.
Anybody else?
Just remind me, so from the roof, how far away is the kitchen?
Kitchen's in the basement, so the kitchen is, again, probably somewhere right here, all the way down. And it'll be serviced, if there are events up here. This will be the service elevator, and that runs all the way from the basement up to the roof.
Got it.
So I actually forget. So we passed the super stretch code here in Swampscott in terms of how the building needs to be energy efficient and all that stuff. I'm actually forgetting right now whether or not it applies to renovation or if it's just
New builds.
construction.
The LDA calls out
I think,
specifically.
yeah.
We made some changes in that.
We agreed
Yeah.
to some language in the LDA, so.
But I don't remember if it was.
You remember that wrestling match?
What's that?
You don't remember it?
I do remember being a pain in the butt about it, yes, but,
Your words, not mine.
but what I don't recall is whether or not it was 100% specific and binding, or if it was kind of more best efforts, or.
Commercially best efforts.
Commercial best
Yeah.
Commercial best
is
efforts.
where we landed, and the reason we felt comfortable with that is because of the Delamar's track record with those types of projects,
Yeah.
and how that's a company commitment outside of a community commitment. So I think we felt confident that they would, throw what they could at it, so long as they could still survive financially after. I think they're going to make reasonable.
I mean, in the context of a building like this, again, it's from 1910. It's really hard to completely see it like a new building, but things like windows. I mean, all new windows throughout. I mean, that significantly helps your R values, which is how heat transfers through spaces. Going to be newly insulated throughout, so it'll be a pretty tight building. But again, there's only so much you can do in the context of an old, 100-year-old building, 100 years plus.
Will there be any gas or oil or anything like that?
In the kitchen, maybe for
Okay.
for cooking, but otherwise, I mean, hard for me to.
In the kitchen is commercial. A lot of them love that there too. So, but anyway,
I can't get.
Yeah.
But no, I think again electric heat pump system has worked, and I think it could certainly work here. Whether we need some sort of contingency, gas or natural gas system, to be determined.
All right. Shall we keep going? Is that the whole shebang?
Those are the floor plans.
Okay.
I'm happy to. These are the elevations. Again, this is the elevation of the new elevator tower. Again, this is all those terraces on the third floor of the main building. That is the elevator tower there. And those are some renderings of the exterior.
So, I think the, Reader's Digest version of this is, when you look at the building, it's going to pay homage to what it looks like today. There'll be little tweaks and changes, obviously windows and everything, but the inside will be totally fresh and new and beautiful.
Correct.
And nods to Hadley's past. To Doug's point, there was some language we put in the LDA, and you guys are doing commercially best efforts to get all of the state-of-the-art equipment necessary for us to have. Doug, help me with the languages.
Well, yeah, actually, I feel embarrassed that I'm, forgetting about,
Okay.
Because it would be, much simpler if I knew that the super stretch code applied to rehab versus new construction. I have a feeling it probably doesn't apply to rehab. But it sounds like you're moving in that direction. I would love to kind of be able to double check that before I was, giving a stamp of approval.
Okay.
And also in terms of, our negotiations about things, and, has that had an impact on, what you feel like you would do in this regard or anything like that? It doesn't feel like it from like what you said.
No, yeah. Not too much.
All right. Dixon, is there anything else that you want to make sure the public sees,
Um,
that we see?
Not really. Again, it's
Okay.
going to hopefully look pretty familiar to everyone on the outside, at least.
So I can just tell you, the LDA does require that you hold at least two community meetings. And so we should work with Marzi to get those scheduled so that we can have community feedback.
Any timeline on when those need to happen in the process?
Yeah,
or-
Doug, I knew you were going to ask me that. Following the end of the due diligence period and prior to any submission of the board. So we should have had, sounds like we probably should have had them already, or at least one of them already.
Prior
But
to submission to the board of the
submission
schematics?
to the board, which would be the approved schematics.
Prior to this?
Yep. So, great news is we've got time between now and October 8th, and we can still facilitate that before we approve schematics. I think it's important we do that because we wrote it into the LDA and we need to keep ourselves honest.
So you get like 2 back-to-back meetings? Yep. To help people out?
Yeah, I mean, even
Yeah.
if we could do one, one to educate and then open up some sort of way for folks to communicate and then have another one after,
Or have
like,
the second
we
one
could
at our-
figure, yes.
at our October 8th meeting.
Yep.
even, right?
Yep, we could
Part of
figure
it
out
itself.
how to facilitate that so that we are still in compliance
Yeah.
with the promises we made. And then just to say it, upon the completion of the approved schematic design, there'll be a submittal to the Swampscott Planning Board for approvals. So then there's a whole nother public process with the planning board. I think, Doug, that's what we were sort of alluding to prior, which I couldn't get off the tip of my tongue.
A little bit like Pine Street. We have
Yes,
the schematics
exactly.
and, yeah.
So we
That's
just did a
exactly like
similar, we just did exactly the same thing for Pine Street. Benet came forward.
Okay, we are ready for period 8, folks. It's the last block of the
Last block,
period 8. If you don't have a class, thank you so much for coming and being here.
school's out.
All of our families, thank you. And again, last block of 8, period 8.
This is a long school day.
It's truncated, so parents can understand what the kids go through.
Soon.
Used to be one of my favorite nights.
Have the PA system.
So,
The bars
so
open.
just to say, that's the next step. We, I think Dixon, we appreciate you coming. We appreciate you presenting all this. I think next steps for us is to make sure you guys work with Marzi to get a community meeting on the books.
Absolutely.
At least one, if not 2, before our October 8th meeting. We will submit a formal request for an extension of time on our review of the schematic design so that we could make sure that these milestones occur that are required under the LDA. And then we will come back and have another discussion and approval on October 8th. If that makes sense.
Great.
It's just us here, so I can't see the people at home. So if you have questions, email select board. Appreciate you coming, Dixon, all this way. Appreciate all this hard work. It's very exciting.
Yeah, we're very excited. So there's our architect, Richard.
Richard, did you have anything you wanted to add? You don't have to.
Richard, you're good to go to bed.
My name is Richard Turlington. I am the architect. I'm licensed in the state of Massachusetts, and Dixon did a great job, so I didn't need to say anything.
Excellent. Thank you, Richard, for joining us.
All right, thank you.
When do we get to start reserving rooms? No, I shouldn't get ahead.
Let me check the milestone schedule, Doug.
The Doug Thompson suite.
39 months from the end of due diligence.
If you want to put down a deposit on a big event in
Yeah.
the future, have it taken.
Sounds like maybe my 50th wedding anniversary or something.
All right, wouldn't that be nice? Thanks again, Dixon, for your time.
Thank you.
And we will be in touch.
Thank you.
We will move on to the next item on the agenda, if I could find.
Copies of our latest magazine.
Oh, thanks. We will absolutely take a gander. I'm just gonna find in all my mess of papers the. No, we have a consultant here. Yes. All right, do we pass you the microphone? Can we, Diane, can we pass the microphone over? Okay, on to item number 5. We have Chief Archer here, who's our hazardous mitigation chief. I don't know what that's called officially, but he wears the hat, which is required to be worn for this item. And this is our second viewing of the update of the hazard mitigation plan.
Correct.
Just
Correct.
as a reminder.
Happy to reintroduce Martin Pillsbury. He's a senior environmental advisor with the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. He's been instrumental in shepherding us through the process of updating our 2015 hazard mitigation plan. Thanks to Martin and a grant secured by Marzi Galaska, we're in the final stages of rolling out our updated plan to help the town prepare for and respond to natural emergencies of all types. Matt Martin has a presentation for the board to get us all up to speed on where we stand. Here's
Thank
Martin.
you, Martin.
Thank you, Chief. So, yeah, if we could go back to the beginning of the presentation, to the start. And this is the second time I've been before the board, and thank you very much for the time. We were here, I believe it was in March. At that point, we were in the mid-process of putting the plan together. And the way this works is that there are, FEMA requires actually, but it's a good idea too, to have 2 public meetings. One like we did when we're in mid-process, and one when we're now at the point of actually having a draft plan put together to make it available to the public, make them aware of it, and open it up, welcome comments on this plan before we turn it in to MEMA and FEMA for their review. So, yeah, oh, can I?
You want to do it?
Oh, perfect. Okay. Just the hours, right?
And just so the public understands, Marzi posted this as a public meeting, so not just as a select board meeting, but she advertised it as specifically as the hazard mitigation plan update.
That's right. That's right. So, just a brief context on this. Doing this kind of a plan is something that FEMA encourages communities across the whole country to do. It got started when they passed a law way back in 2000 called the Disaster Mitigation Act, which empowered FEMA to think about not only what to do after a disaster, that's always been their job, respond, but to think about what communities can do before a disaster to make themselves more resilient, to reduce how much damages might occur when these natural events occur. So it's a nationwide program. Swampscott has developed, and the other thing is that the plans need to be updated every so often because all the conditions change, technology changes, methodologies change. And so you're actually here working on what would be your 3rd hazard mitigation plan since this program began. Your previous one before this was in 2015, and the one before that was around 2010 or 2008 or 10, something like that, when the program was first getting started. One of the big advantages from FEMA's point of view of doing a plan like this is that it actually makes the community eligible to then receive grants from FEMA for actual projects that would help you implement the plan. So what do we mean by hazard mitigation? And this is a bit of a recap of the just introduction that the board saw 6 months ago, but hopefully there's a few folks out there watching this who didn't see this before, so I'll go over this briefly. It's the idea you see in the green box here on the slide, reducing the impacts of natural hazards through strategies that may include a combination of projects, programs, and policies. And we ask these 2 questions you see in the lower left side of this when we do these kinds of plans. What preventative actions are being taken now to reduce damages from these kinds of storm and natural events? And then when we know what you're doing now already as a baseline, we say what additional actions can we take in the future that will increase the community's resilience. That's, in a nutshell, what the point of these plans is to do. And when we look at these plans, they are about natural hazards, but not other kinds of hazards that FEMA handles. So, for instance, this is not about homeland security, terrorism, radiological, nuclear disasters, anything like that. This is about natural hazards. So you see the list here, things like flooding, high wind events, winter hazards, blizzards, et cetera, geologic hazards like earthquakes, landslides, wildfires, extreme temperatures, droughts. Every category of natural hazard is in this plan. And to some extent, the town will have some of these hazards that you face, and others are not as important for the town, but the list of hazards is the same for everybody to look at. The idea behind this program that FEMA put out is to try to slow down and break what they've seen as a cycle of disaster, rebuild, and, rinse, wash, repeat sort of thing that goes on in many places. And by intervening in this cycle to try to slow it down and reduce how much damages occur when the natural events happen. When we say hazard mitigation, it's not one methodology or one type of approach. It's actually an umbrella term for a number of different kinds of strategies and actions a community can take. And this quickly lists here a few of the things: actions to prevent damages, actions to protect existing properties that are already located in hazardous zones like flood zones, et cetera. Public education and outreach, so that not only what the town does for its own facilities, but what the public can do, managing the homes and businesses they have, be more aware of the hazards. Protection of natural resources that actually help buffer the storms, like wetlands, et cetera. And then structural projects come into it when you may need to actually manage the impacts of drainage and flooding, so things like culverts, pumps, dams, seawalls, et cetera. That's a big part of these plans, to look at those and which ones of those might need to be upgraded. And then finally, emergency services protection, to make sure that the emergency services, and I have the chief right next to me here, and the facilities they rely on, they themselves are protected, so that they will be able to provide utility and protection to everyone else in the community. If the first thing that went out in a mass disaster is the fire and the police and the public works yards, they would be helpless to help everybody else. It's a little bit like in an airplane, put the mask on yourself first and then help those around you. It's kind of, you want to keep those emergency services intact and operational, even under difficult situations. So just briefly on how the plan was put together. And really, at the heart of this plan is your local hazard mitigation team. The chief here was instrumental in helping pull that together, as well as Marzi was, and we had several other folks from different departments in the town were meeting with us, and we actually had 4 quarterly meetings, which we stepped through the process step by step of getting a lot of local information and data from the members of the team who know your town, who provided information about the specific situations and conditions in the town that really is not documented anywhere. It's not something we can look up online. We had to talk to the folks who in real time know this. And now we've actually have, as a result of this, documented a lot of that knowledge that we, sort of folks have downloaded for us to bring in. So that's part of the value of having a plan like this, to sort of institutionalize that understanding. And so the role of the team was to help us update what the critical facilities are in the community, and those are all mapped. I'll show you in a minute. To review the goals for the plan, to provide local knowledge about what the impacts of hazards are, especially flooding in this community, but other hazards too, and review and updated mitigation actions. The whole point of this plan is to put together a set of actions the town can then take in the future, and the team really helped guide us through that discussion. This is just a sort of one of those linear timelines to show the process we've been through, starting all the way back with the first team meeting, which I believe was last July, and then working on mitigation reviews. We had our first public meeting there in March, and then a final team meeting to develop the mitigation strategy after that. I've been working on preparing the draft plan. We take all this information we get from the town, and then we put it into the format that FEMA requires. They are very prescriptive about how these plans have to be laid out, and we've sort of done a lot of them, so we're trying to make sure we get all the information in a way they want to see it. At the end of the day, the plan has to be reviewed and approved by FEMA, so we want to make sure we kind of like stay between the lines and follow their rules. We're now toward the right side here at the second public meeting, and the last step after this will be then to submit the plan to MEMA and FEMA. And I should have mentioned MEMA is the Mass Emergency Management Agency, the state corresponding group. And they're actually the agency that administers the program on behalf of FEMA in Massachusetts. The grant that Marcy put together comes through MEMA. It's using FEMA funds ultimately, but they're the pass-through for that. And they oversee the plans and projects that get submitted into FEMA. So let's talk a little bit about the content of the plan itself. There's really 2 big parts of the plan. An assessment of what your vulnerabilities are to the hazards, looking at the historic trends, looking at the projections from some of these future hazards, and then once we know what the hazards are, to look at the mitigation, that what can you do about it to make the town more protected. So let's start with the hazard vulnerability. And there's a lot going on this map. I'm sorry that it's a little hard to read from this distance, but I'll just quickly mention this map is showing 71 different critical facility sites that the team identified. If you get a chance to look at the plan in more detail, you'll see lots of little green dots on there. Every one of the dots on this map is a critical facility that's listed in the inventory, so you can look it up in a database and then also see where it's located. We also have a number of the different kind of hazards that have been identified in the community. 8 locally identified hazard areas for flooding, which show up as like little blue polygons and circles in different parts of the map. And these include, of the 8, actually 4 of them are along coastal areas, and 4 of them are more inland, dealing with like street drainage and stormwater drainage. So you have both, obviously in this community, flooding is an issue that is both coastal and inland as well. 4 locally identified brush fire hazard areas you see in the red circles. It's largely your largest forested parcels, and the chief helped us make sure we had all of those on the map. And then there's one hot spot we have here, that little purple area you see up there, which is basically where there's elevated surface heat in summer temperatures because of being a lot more pavement in those kind of areas and less trees. And that data comes from satellite imagery that looks at surface temperature on a hot day in the summer. And in fact, you have just that one little area. If you looked at this map for, I don't know, Everett, Somerville, most of the map would be pink. So in a sense, you're lucky because the density of your development doesn't have as severe an issue with this. Not to say heat isn't an issue everywhere, it still is. But these are areas where it can be a little bit more. So this map actually summarizes a lot of the information graphically from all the different kind of hazards you have, as well as the hazard.
Is that Vinnen?
Yes, exactly. It's along Route 1A up there, up near the Salem line. Exactly.
Can I ask just a quick question?
Sure.
Where is the police station in Phillips Park in that drawing?
Down here.
It would be way.
It's in the blue?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for staying for our curriculum night. This is a wrap on our evening tonight. Thank you again. Thank you teachers, students. Thank you students, teachers. Thank our families. Everyone have a great night.
You all got a passing
Point it
grade,
out?
right?
No, I just want to make sure I had it right. So, according to Kleinfelder, in the report that they wrote, I think, I don't even remember the year, I think.
2016. And I actually have a little information from that report in here, too.
So my concern is, based on that report and based on what you're showing right here, the police station is in one of the most serious hazard areas. And I think the police station is also set up as, is that our primary emergency center with the backup generators and things like that? So are we going to need to address to move that, change that facility?
No, there's a backup.
Backup plan?
There's a backup site, yes.
Okay.
But you're asking a very good question here. The point of aligning on a map, where are the critical facilities and where are the hazard zones and where are there's overlap between the two? The hazard zones you see on this particular map, the blue areas here, those are the FEMA mapped flood, special flood hazard areas.
Right.
They're the areas that would be that would be inundated in a 100-year storm, or what they call a 1% storm. So it doesn't flood there all the time by any means,
Right.
but it's showing that under those more extreme conditions of a 1% storm, some of those areas in blue could be flooded. Not always, it doesn't say what the depth of flooding is. I mean, it could be as little as a foot or 6 inches and it still counts as flooding, or it could be more. And in fact, some of the maps that Kleinfelder did for you gets in a little more detail, and we'll look at that in a minute because I actually have some information.
So I want to make sure that we identify it. We have the police station there, and we have the pumping station there, too, so.
It kind of raises questions about the longer-term future because, I mean, we're talking about the 100-year flood. So it's not like something that's on your doorstep necessarily tomorrow, but it's definitely something to consider.
Well, right, but a 100-year flood doesn't mean that it's going to happen in 100 years.
No, it's a
It could
1%
happen-
chance.
But it
is
could
what
happen next year.
happen
That
It could,
be, right?
yeah, it could. It's a 1% chance.
Yeah. Aren't the generators elevated or something like that, though?
I thought we talked about that last time.
Yeah.
God bless you, Jean.
Aren't the generators at the police station or whatever, aren't they elevated in some manner?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
We don't have to answer this today, but whatever the plan B is, I'm sure it is a reoccurring conversation as we bring buildings online and offline. Like, for example, with a brand new elementary school that has more state-of-the-art capabilities, does it make sense to transition plan B somewhere like that versus, if it were at Clark and Clark is, coming out of circulation as a occupied building, and I'm sure that that's a topic of conversation with Max and you all.
Absolutely. In the planning stages of the new elementary school, there's a lot of discussion about the uses of that as an alternate site
Yep.
for emergency management command center and the capacity of the on-site generation there.
Great.
So that's factored into our plan. Not this plan per se, but I know in the planning stages when we were beginning that building, there was a lot of discussions about that.
Excellent.
And that's actually a good example of an action that could follow, like this kind of assessment says, here's an issue. Be aware of it. And that's one of the things you might do about it, is plan for some other building to take the role that, one that is now in a hazard zone might have.
Mm-hmm.
These are the examples of the kind of actions that could follow from something.
All right, let's.
Okay?
Thank you.
So actually, I just want to repeat what this map is for the flooding. This map is the FEMA mapping of special flood hazard areas. So the 1% chance in that kind of blue color, the kind of darker purple color right on the coast, that's what they call the VE zone, which is the area not only subjected to higher water, but also to what they call the velocity zone of wave action. It's close enough that you're going to actually have the addition of wave action plus the higher levels of the water. So those are typically right along the shore. And, you know, as you can see here, the more rocky headlands, it doesn't extend as far inland. Some of the lower lying areas, like you can see up there along that edge of the town up there, it does. So that's the way FEMA would map. Important to note that that's based on existing conditions. That's what how FEMA exists, the potential 1% flood based on today's conditions. Mapping has been done to project out the future climate impacts of sea level rise through the Massachusetts Coastal Flood Risk Model, which the state has actually commissioned, and actually Kleinfelder looked at this kind of data as well. Basically, this is looking at 3 different future flood scenarios based on 1.2 feet of sea level rise, 2.4 feet, and 4.2. So whenever you're talking about projection for future sea level, nobody knows exactly how much it's going to be when all the projections usually have a range, sort of a worst-case scenario to a less worst-case scenario. And this is the data that Massachusetts put together for a project that actually maps the entire coast of Massachusetts. And so this is what it looks like. And you'll see those areas remarkably similar to the current day. I'll flash back to it. Areas that are flooded, but I also note one difference. All the way down here on the lower end near the Lynn boundary, that area extends a little bit further up there.
It's down Eastern Ave, right?
Yeah, there. Than it does if you go back to the current flooding. So it is showing some difference for future conditions compared to what this map intends to do to characterize present-day conditions. So that's just one thing that's useful to be aware of. The other areas you see here, they're roughly the same geography, although you're seeing the 3 different colors of dark blue to medium to light as just being the 3 different scenarios. And by the way, the years that are next to the sea level rise are just projected estimates of when we might get to that level based upon essentially the worst case scenario, the highest curve of sea level rise. If we were in the middle or lower curve, it would take a lot longer to get to those like it could take to the end of the century or beyond. So that's just to sort of look at what you might say a worst case scenario might look like. And when some of these changes would happen, the soonest they could possibly happen according to the current projections. So that's the issue with coastal flooding. One of the things that drives coastal floods obviously is hurricanes. The other is nor'easters. So you get hurricanes in the late summer to fall seasons. You get nor'easters in the fall through the winter and into the early spring seasons. This map gives you a little sense of the history. It shows all the tropical storm and hurricane tracks going back to the 1860s coming through this area. And only one of them tracks right through Swampscott. It was this tropical depression in 1902, which I guess most of us don't remember. But the point being that a tropical storm or hurricane doesn't have to track right through your town. It's a regional event, and you're going to be affected by the winds and the waves from a wide swath. So all these tracks around you, especially the ones that would be more off-coast, offshore, because they would be bringing storm surges up against your coast more. And there's quite a few of those. There were just 3 of them in 2004, 2007, and 2008. Looking at that map, there were a couple that went back to the 90s, and then there were a bunch of them that were at the early part of the 20th century. So it's an interesting trend, but it's just to be aware of. We're right in the middle of a bullseye of a lot of these kinds of storm tracks here in the North Shore area. Another issue besides actual flooding is coastal erosion. The state has done a coastal erosion assessment, which looks at data, actually a long-term record from the 1840s up to the year 2018 when the study was completed. And then they took a shorter segment of just the trends.
Thank you again, everyone, for coming. We really appreciate it. We're getting ready to close the building. Thank you.
Oh, my God.
Thank you again for coming.
Closing time.
I'll speed it up, guys.
It's an empty threat, but yes,
Okay.
that would be great.
Okay, so this shows you the trends in coastal erosion, which basically the take home here, the earlier one from the long term is only about 1/10 of a foot per year. The more recent trend from 1970 to now is almost a foot a year. Like, so that in recent times is accelerating as we've seen in other things. The plan also looks at all these other hazards. We're putting a lot of emphasis here on the flooding and the coastal flooding because that's really one of your primary concerns, but we look at wildfires, we look at extreme heat, we look at drought, all of that's in the plan. To get to the mitigation that the plan is all about, what are the things the town can do? So your previous plan had a fairly extensive list of recommended mitigation measures, and the town in that intervening time has actually implemented quite a few of them. This isn't even the whole list, but this is just a list. It violates all my rules about too many words on a slide. We're not going to read all the words, but just to give you a flavor, a lot of measures have been adopted by the town from previous plans. So hopefully that plan did help you get started with some of these efforts. What this new plan for 2025 has is a newly formed set of recommendations for actions from this point forward. So this takes some of the measures you had in your last plan that had not yet been done. The team evaluated them, said some of these are long-term and they're still worth doing. Maybe we'll change them a little bit, we'll keep them and we'll roll them over into the new plan. And then there's a few new items that were added to this plan that weren't in the last plan. So this is, and actually there's a longer list than this. There's about, I think, 24, 25 items that are, each one is a recommended measure that you see when you look at the plan itself. But just to give you a high-level view, a lot of the actions are around flooding, coastal flooding, looking at some of your issues around some of the infrastructure. But then there's things like green site design, increasing tree plantings, adopting net zero water use policies, some regulatory and policy changes. It's not all just about hard construction projects.
Is it, can I just ask a question about the grant funding? So, you had said when we started that there was grants funded through FEMA or MEMA, that we could potentially be eligible as a product of creating and updating these guidelines. Is this list inclusive or exclusive in the sense that can we only apply for things that are on our list as marked as recommendations? Or can we say, in the spirit of this recommendation, this other thing happened, and therefore we can still apply?
You can always apply for anything if you can
Right.
make a good case for it.
Fantastic.
Information's come up since then. So it helps your case if something's on the plan, but it really only with FEMA grants. There are other grants out there that aren't directly aligned to this plan.
Okay, great.
Like, especially in the state, the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Action Grants. They might look at this plan, but they won't hold you to this exactly. If you have some other different idea that just didn't somehow get in this plan, you could still make a good case for it as a cost benefit. Yes, it's eligible.
Great.
Yeah, good question though, because there should be a connection to some degree between planning and then taking action and
Right.
getting funded.
I mean, essentially, we'd like it to be a roadmap.
It is supposed to be a roadmap, exactly. That's right. Next steps for finishing this plan. So we are like 99-point-something% done. We have a draft plan. The draft plan has been posted up. So we'll have a public review period for the next month. We'll be asking folks who are interested to take a look. The plan is available online. I'm going to show you a link in a minute. And by a month from now, we're asking for folks to send us any comments or questions they may have by October 17th. And then we'll turn around with the plan and turn it in to FEMA and MEMA for their review of the plan. And that's where they do kind of a formal review. They have a checklist, does the plan of all the components that are needed. We'll revise it if needed. The comments by FEMA and MEMA almost always have some comments. It's interesting because like you may respond to some comments and do X, Y, and Z on some plan, and then 6 months later, you do another plan, you put all those items in there, because you knew they asked for it before, but now they're going to ask for A, B, and C, something else. So they're like, there's always something, but we'll basically revise the plan in any way they may ask. This board will actually see the plan then come back to them after FEMA has reviewed it and approved it. The final step FEMA wants to see is that the community's the governing board of a community actually has officially adopted the plan. So there's like a one-page certificate of adoption in the plan itself that would come back to this board to say, okay, the plan has been done, your team has done it, the FEMA has approved it. All you need to do is adopt it, and then FEMA will send you a formal letter of plan approval that has a 5-year expiration date to it. So it'll be good, but from their point of view, it'll be in effect for the next 5 years. And that's during that 5 years that you will have FEMA grant eligibility.
Is there a reason why we would not wait to vote on the plan until after the public review completes?
Because we can
Like right
change the
now?
plan based on the comments that are coming by FEMA and MEMA. Then you just have to go back and do it all over again.
So we don't vote.
So we don't.
We're not asking for action tonight, that's.
Oh, okay, because
Yeah.
the agenda is, so, good to understand. So you're not asking for action, you'll integrate the public comments back.
Right.
Then it'll goes to MEMA and FEMA.
Right.
Then we don't actually vote on it again until the final.
The
town
final
ballot.
version is there, the dust is settled, the reviews have happened, now we know what the plan has in
Great.
it. That's what we'll come back to you.
Okay, so this is more, not a stamp of approval, but more a discussion. If there's anything you feel like is missing from the plan, or
Yeah.
anything we'd like to be highlighted in the plan that hasn't been highlighted in the plan, we should get our comments by October 17th or today to our.
Anytime from now on, that's right.
Okay,
Martin,
fantastic.
one question on this mitigation recommendations slide. This seems like a kind of a real, clearly not in order of priority, right?
No, when you see it in the plan, there's listed by, it shows what priorities are. This is like a very high-level list. In the plan itself, it's listed out in the matrix that shows for each action, describes a little bit. It says what's high, medium, or low priorities. It shows which board or commission or department of the town would be the lead agency for each measure, and they vary. It shows and most of them an estimated cost estimate and an estimated time frame over the next 5 years for each one of them. So there's a lot more detail for each of those in the plan itself. I just didn't want to there's already so much detail on this slide. I kind of give you a high-level view of it on the slide. But
You have just, looking, is that like 106? What, of all these things, I mean, this is a long laundry list. Do you have any idea like what the top 2 or 3 things, is it in that level of prioritization?
No, it's not in rank order. It's there are classes of high, medium, and low. And that's what the team looked over these things and figured out which ones would be most important to do. And it's a combination of sort of a cost benefit, although we don't have the information on which to do a formal cost benefit analysis. But, is this an item that would have a lot of benefit to the town and would still be cost effective even if it's expensive? That's the sort of the way they looked at it. And so, yeah, everything you see there is either ranked as either high, medium, or low priority.
And there's no, description of what those things are here, right? Or is there? Is this the color coding?
Where's the cheat sheet?
I don't know.
In here, there will be a much.
In the plan itself,
In
there's
the
a lot
plan
more
itself.
detail. Yeah.
Perfect.
yeah,
Okay.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
Or not,
Yes.
Yes, yeah, that's,
page 142 or something.
Exactly, that's what it seems.
And I guess to be fair to the plan providers, some of this is gonna be driven by finances, right? Some of this is, we might cast a wide net and apply for a bunch of grants and get some that work, some that don't.
Yeah.
So we try to, facilitate that, through Marzi's department and see what we can get, to help us along. So, yes, it's important that we call something a high priority, but it's better to say a group's a high priority, because if we're applying for grants and it's in that high priority bucket, we can maybe help justify why it's important that we get that grant money over someone else.
You let me know when you find it, Doug.
yeah.
133 it starts on.
Okay, thank you.
But I see what Martin's talking about. There
Could you
are
go to the last slide?
various categories, and then within that, there are a number of different initiatives. Some are high, some are medium, but yeah, there's not a,
There's a little description of what the high, medium, and low, before the table, a little
Right.
table that describes what this, one more slide after that.
Is table 48, if anybody's watching and wants to access the plan online.
There, okay, so this is the final slide. So this link is where people can download the actual plan itself. And you might want to actually maybe put this on your town website as well then, right? So people directly from the town, but we have this up on a project page. And as I mentioned, we're asking and welcoming folks to comment and question. We'd like them to submit by October 17th. And we have a dedicated email address to send in comments, swampscottresilience@mapc.org.
Excellent.
Great,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you very much. Just a lot of information.
Lot of
We've digested some of this prior, and it's coming back up 6 months later, so If something should come up, we will see it back again, as Martin explained, but for the public, you should access, Diane will, I'm sure is already ensuring that it goes up on the town website tomorrow. And we'll provide the email information so that, folks can reach out to.
And I just really want to thank the team, because none of this would happen without the team. We're just they're the orchestra, I was just the conductor, and keeping the FEMA roadmap in mind, make sure all the data that's brought forward gets then put in the format that FEMA will want to see. So the team was just fantastic.
Well, thank you very much to you. Thank you,
for all
Chief.
your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
And others,
And
thank
others.
you.
Yeah, Gina was part of the team, for sure. Yeah.
All right. We will move on to item number 6 on the agenda. Not sure, Chief, if that's you too. Beauport.
I believe you have the license agreement in front of you.
Yep, we do.
So yes, this is a license agreement for number 86, a portion of number 86 Burl Street, the same portion that was occupied previously by Cataldo Ambulance. Thanks. Beauport is now proposing to occupy that space after investing significant improvements to the building, that area of the building. They've added they've done plumbing, painting, carpeting. I want to say maybe electrical upgrades, communication system for upgrades to the building. And they are closing in on having all those renovations completed. They are under a use and occupancy agreement at 89 Burl Street, the former senior center, as temporary digs while they renovate the old police station to just enhance their space and make it a little more usable for them.
So they've been upgrading the site that they don't have a lease for or anything?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Goodwill.
That's how
Very nice.
committed they are to
Very nice.
being a part of our community.
They, yeah,
I have noticed that they
significantly.
actually seem to have electric plug-in ambulances or something. Seriously. I've
There you
seen-
go, Jack.
So you're saying they don't have a lease, they're upgrading, they're paying rent, we were receiving rent from the other ambulance company as well, weren't we?
They have not begun paying rent on the former police station yet. We were receiving rent from Cataldo.
Right. What were we receiving from them? Under 3, right?
It was less. It was less.
Right, okay.
We recalculated based on comps of other commercial properties in the area for a square footage, a reasonable square footage rental rate for 2025 as compared to what Cataldo was paying when it was last calculated 15 years ago.
Right, and it says here the town agrees to credit the licensee
Yeah.
up to 15,000?
Yes.
Or 30%, whichever is less of the total cost of work approved by the town under the section applied towards the monthly fee. So
Yes.
when was that approved?
We're looking to prove it tonight.
It hasn't been
Oh,
signed.
you're asking us tonight?
Yes.
I'll be going for
But
it.
they've done work, they're doing
But
work?
they've done that. They've already gone forward with the work.
But it's going to get credited against their,
If you approve, it would be credited against their rent.
okay, but we must have kind of given them some
Yes, we
verbal
did, because they've been here
indication
before, right. They were,
that we were going to do that, right? That-
When did we do that?
Like, we were sitting here saying, oh, isn't that nice? They kind of like went over and improved it. It wasn't free lunch, right?
Free.
Well,
Well, you
well,
can-
they're
There is
still,
a good
they're
portion.
still shouldering the majority of the cost. It's
Right.
this is a partial, I mean, it's a third or, because whichever is less, it'll be a 30% or less of what
30%,
they're,
whichever is less.
based on what they've estimated they're gonna put into it. And it mirrors a similar arrangement that we had with Cataldo in the same building. In 2010, they installed a new heating system in the building, and we credited Cataldo back with a portion of what they invested in that heating system in the building.
I mean, this is a cost-saving measure for us, even though it means we're not getting rent. We are also not having to make a
approve
capital
that building.
Oh,
investment in a building.
we'll
that
still
has-
be getting rent.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
yes, but
will
for
be
the
reduced.
portion for which they are
Yes.
covering a third of their improvements, we've now not had to shell out that cash for capital
Absolutely.
improvement.
It's
So
absolutely.
it's a give and take here.
Yes.
And it's important to understand that 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 is what's happening, but there is a benefit to the town for doing that as well, because now instead of having to go through the capital improvement cycle and potentially be bumped for other, what the town may consider more pressing issues, Cataldo's saying, no, Beauport's saying, in order for us to maintain the best level of service, we're committing 2/3 of the cost of this. We just need the town to defer that through rent deferments.
Correct. And just to be clear, the way we handled it with Cataldo, we didn't zero out the rent until the full commitment was paid back to them, in this case, 15,000 or 30%, whichever is less. It just reduced it. And the license agreement in front of you doesn't specify over what period of time. We can do it, we could give them a big break on rent for a short period of time, or we could carve off $500 for however long it takes them to pay it back.
30 months.
Do we have a definition of the work?
The agreement says it's work that is agreed to by the town, under that section. So they can't just
Approved by the
say
town,
everything we've done counts towards that. It's only work that's pre-agreed by, it requires that they provide the town with invoices and bills and paid cash checks, and that we approve of any work to count towards this offset.
So have you approved this, like, have you reviewed any of
I
this?
have not. That was,
So I think if we approve the license agreement, what the next step will be is to have a good understanding, for Gino to have a good understanding of the work that we
Correct.
think is applicable to deduct from the cost.
Correct. They can propose anything to be applied
Sure.
towards that cost.
And then we will approve, we being the town administrator, will approve that work. And then somebody, either on the town administrator side or chief, will make sure that as the invoices come in, we have a tally between the 15,000 or the 30%.
Right.
Whatever's less.
Yes.
And then we'll make sure that it's reflected correctly. I think, for me, I just worry if it's reflected correctly because we're short-staffed on the accounting side right now, right? So as we implement more complicated agreements without the support staff, we just want to make sure that, you know, we're not overpaying, we're not underpaying, but we're paying what we're contractually obligated to.
Sure.
it
To
probably
answer
should
your
have been
question, and you,
pre-approved.
from your quizzical look, Mary Ellen, this was circulated between Marzi, Max, and myself. We kind of like kicked it around and decided how best to do it.
Thank you.
So moved for approval.
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Wonderful. Okay, I also would like to mention that Beauport has been a active community member in a lot of community events lately,
Yes.
Whether we're paying them to be there or not.
Nope, we
So
don't.
we're not.
Nope, we're not.
I'm not saying like they were at the football game unfortunately on Friday, but outside from that, they have been to many other free events, and so
Yeah.
they're,
The block party?
yep,
The block party, they were there. I
earning
mean,
their dues.
the contract does specify that they'll come to they'll have a presence at an unspecified number of community events. It does specify a certain number of trainings, community trainings, like first responder trainings, CPR trainings, but they've already been going above that. They every time, I mean, before they came to the block party, that was before they had
Yeah.
They didn't even have a
Exactly.
contract.
They had
so-
signed anything.
On a really
yeah.
short notice
Yeah,
they
and
came.
on a
and-
very short notice.
Very nice.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks.
At the indulgence of the board, I will move item 8 to the next agenda item, and we will move on to goals after that, if that is okay with everybody.
Sure.
Hopefully. This is the second time we are discussing this, so
Yep.
rather than make it wait till goals are discussed. This was discussed in light of the payment of the invoice. Vice Chair Thompson brought it up as where we should be adding language that protects unauthorized expenditures or more transparency in the expenditure process. I believe it's chapter 7 of, we are looking at the,
I had a small question, a medium question. How does, for example, when, example of, we spent almost $100,000 on the Hawthorne Study Committee, on that library and a couple of the seminars. And that was never discussed in public or with the select board, things like that. So how does that fall into play here?
I think that's another great example, actually. I mean, that shouldn't happen.
Did you see $100,000?
Just short of 100,000. We got a grant for part of it too, but.
Well, that's an important,
Piece of it.
that's
Well,
a
no, 'cause the
crucial
grant-
part of that
A grant
conversation.
could have also gone to other things too, but
Okay,
it was,
but,
it was still the spending.
well, to be fair, this doesn't cover that, then if it was grant funded, because it says the expending of town
Not all,
funds.
not all
So,
was.
Well, we also have a
Grant
thing about
funding is
grants.
considered town.
We did put a cap on, remember, we put a requirement on the grants
50,000.
too, that we needed to be notified, was it 50?
No, we didn't put so that was
already part of the
already
charter.
our financial policy.
Oh, yeah.
What we did was we said, let's start following our financial policy. That was in our financial policy
No,
prior to.
But we reduced the threshold.
We reduced the dollar amount. We put a cap in there on what we were gonna ask for.
Because we mainly just wanted to make sure we were aware of
Yeah.
things that were happening, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so in some ways that would catch part of that thing with the Hawthorne, because that was a
Yeah,
grant.
I think now, yeah, part of a grant, but it wouldn't catch additional finances.
And I think the middle ground here, the idea, because we obviously don't want to be sitting here like approving every single thing that's being spent, right? But what this does, there's two pieces to this in this simple little sentence, right? One is that either, at least the town administrator has to have had approved it, right? So at least that puts the onus and responsibility on the town administrator for clarity and responsibility and accountability, right? And it has to come to the select board, wait a minute, above $1,000?
I was gonna say, that feels like very
Yeah,
low, because,
That was
I was like, oh, maybe this should say $10,000, but then
Yeah, I don't,
that wouldn't catch
Whoop.
the item at hand,
Yeah.
so I don't think you meant that.
Well, you wanna change it to 5,000? Is that? Or, so what's the problem with leaving it just at 1,000?
I mean, I feel like that's a very low threshold
Low?
and takes discretion away from the town administrator to
it should be,
facilitate.
it should be or, I think is the intent here. So it's either the town administrator, we got a public process, you have to do public procurement, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Town administrator, there's many things that are gonna happen at that level, 10, 15, 20, 30, 50, even whatever, 70,000 that's gonna go through public process. Town administrator's gonna sign off on it. By and large, we're probably gonna have approved something that has an impact on that, right? But if for some reason, town administrator's not signing off on it, that's the or, then there's a low threshold for expending things. That's why it's $1,000. Because there shouldn't be things that the town administrator is not authorizing to begin with. That's the whole point. And that's what this.
So you're
this
saying
thing-
the $1,000, the qualifier for the second part of the sentence, not the first?
Correct. Select board shall not expend town funds without the town administrator's authority, or shall not expend funds above $1,000. We can't just go spend, no
No, I know
member
what
of the-
conceptually you're trying to accomplish, but I don't think this is doing that. So, I mean, I thought the and was purposeful, because I thought you wanted to say the town administrator has to authorize it and the select board has to authorize it. Because there have been times in the past, this time is not an example, but say the library, for example, where
Right.
perhaps there was an understanding with the town administrator that this was something that the board wanted, but it wasn't necessarily a formal vote taken by the board, or as transparent of a process as it should have been.
Yeah.
So then, in that instance, it would make sense that the board should have, even if it was just simply to support in a transparent function, voted to support the expenditure of such a fund. So to me, it would seem like the select board shall not expend town funds without the town administrator's authority and without the select board vote for any
Right.
funds above. And then I would say that $1,000 would be.
But then you have every single thing that's happening in town. below $5,000 or above $5,000 that would have to come to us.
Yeah, I don't want to micromanage the
Right.
town
That's not
administrator.
the point. Now
For
Nick-
sure.
Now Nick's on the front of his seat.
Yeah.
So that, I
But
was
the select board isn't expending those funds.
The town administrator, well,
See, I was solving one scenario. Now we've brought up the library, which is a different scenario. So for my scenario, like, I'm sorry that this, my chicken scratch maybe didn't make it to Diane the best way here, but, I mean,
But
one way to do this is, select board shall not expend town funds without the town administrator's authority is not the right word.
prior written consent?
Yeah. Written authorization.
Period, no
Period.
matter what. We don't have money to expend.
Right, right.
I mean,
Period.
we have a budget, it's like $2,000, I think
Right.
it's $8,000 because we hacked it.
There is money to spend in different budget line items, so that won't cover it that way.
Right.
I
But
think-
With my statement, it does.
Yeah,
Full stop.
yeah, I think his statement does it.
Okay.
But
But how do
just to
people feel
cover
about
what, just to cover what you're saying that, and not without select board vote for any above 1,000.
Well, he's just taking that out.
Yeah.
So
Right,
he's
you take
he's
that- right,
making a
right.
friendly
But I'm
amendment
just-
to himself to say,
Right.
select board shall not extend town funds without the town administrator's prior written authority.
Right, I would just leave
Approval.
it.
Approval, okay,
consent,
Authority, approval.
whatever you want.
Just leave it at that.
And then period. So there's no amount qualifier, and then there is no, this doesn't, I mean, it doesn't solve the problem that we had, because
it doesn't.
what does select board mean here?
Right.
I mean, as the chair right now, considering what we lived through, I would say this means I, as the chair, need to make sure that I have a vote to go to the town administrator and ask him to expend funds if he supports it. But if a chair walks in and says, town administrator, do you support this? And he says yes, then does that mean the chair does that mean the town administrator is free to spend the funds?
Okay,
Well, it says here select board.
Yeah,
So
but what
you
does
would
that
need,
mean?
well, the select board is the select board, not the chair of the select board.
right.
So I think that covers it, select board shall not. Select board.
Okay.
Am I
I
off
just
on
think,
that?
like, what's the different circumstance where I walk into the room and I say, Gino, board supports this, can you please do this? And Gino says, sure, Katie, I'll do it. And then he goes off and does it. And then it turns out I wasn't
I didn't really know what you were
forthcoming.
talking
Well, I mean,
about.
Gino or Nick knows what the select board has voted on or not voted on, and. he's
So you
gonna-
are asking for a vote, then just say you're asking for a vote.
Well, I think basically if you're just saying select board, yeah, if you need it to be, I think that's fine if you write it that detailed. I guess when I look at select board, I look at it that it has to be a vote.
I'm just looking at history.
Yeah. Or reality.
Well, but I don't understand why that, I mean, we didn't in that scenario, and I'm really not like looking back, I'm looking forward.
No, I'm looking at
Right.
multiple times in history, not just that particular one.
Okay, well,
where-
maybe this won't solve everything, but in that scenario, the select board could not have expended town funds without the town administrator's written, so it did, and now we're saying you need to have the town administrator to have actually had written authorization. That would have dealt with that situation, period, right? Simple. No?
I mean, in theory, but in reality, I don't know.
How is that, how does that sentence not deal with that, at least that invoice issue? It does.
Because if the chair went in on behalf of the select board,
But you're contorting the chair with the select board. And, yes, you're right. If you walked in and said, hey, somehow, you're representing the select board and telling the town administrator that, not you, but the chair,
Yeah,
that, oh, the select board supports this, I want you to do this. Okay, well, now we're saying the town administrator has to have written prior approval.
But I think to your point, I think, to Katie's point, she's saying she wants to see a select board vote, so that there would be no confusion whatsoever. Is that,
I'm just saying, anytime you add a sentence, you just want to make sure the defined terms match what they're meant to match. So if select board is defined in here somewhere, to be specific on what that is, then that sentence is fine to me.
why don't we just say with the select board vote?
Right.
Well,
Because but then we get into a situation where select board's voting on every single thing that's expended.
No, because this sentence is just saying that we shall not
But
expend.
we don't.
Okay,
Right.
so,
Right.
okay, yeah, that's
No,
fine.
we can
Yeah,
leave it
no,
as
no,
is,
no.
and let me
No,
think on
that's
it.
fair,
I'm
that's
just
fair.
trying to, maybe I'm getting just a different muscle, a brain muscle, legalizing it too much. But to me, if you are saying capital S, capital B, select board, it's an identified term in the policy, then there should be a definition somewhere. If there's not a definition, then you should define it to say what you mean by that. If your intention is to have a vote, you should write that. If your intention is not to have a vote and you want it to be a little more squishy, then leave it like it is.
Well, it's not just me, I mean.
No, I mean the board's
Yeah.
intention, but I'm saying you because
This is your thing, Doug.
Yeah, now you make me think that actually what I had
What?
to begin with is, maybe covers it a little bit
I
better,
think
but.
it
only
does.
because
Yeah.
I am thinking like, I don't want to keep going, every problem we have shouldn't involve an edit to a code of conduct. Like, we shouldn't have to do that. We should make rules that generally apply to most situations, so we don't get into this point. We shouldn't just be like, something bad happens, make a new rule, something bad happens, make a new rule. So, I'm not debating that the rule shouldn't be made. What I'm saying is, I just don't want to set a precedent going forward that every time something happens, we then have to put a line in some process and procedure manual. So I want to be careful about what exactly our intent is on this, and if it covers a multitude of sins, great, it should. It shouldn't just cover one scenario and be the solution to one factual scenario.
I think the main point here is that we all should be voting as one group, right? And it shouldn't be a unilateral decision by one member of this body. So how best to define that, certainly not my wheelhouse, but I think that's the intent here, right?
But do you think that sentence is okay?
I do. I mean, it seems to make sense to
Okay.
me.
As it was?
Yeah.
As it is right now?
It'll say, select board shall not
Yeah.
expend town funds without the town administrator's
Authority.
prior written authority.
Are you good with that then? Katie?
Yeah, great,
Okay, so it looks like we have 3 at least.
we're good. Does anybody want to make a
To this
motion?
point,
You gonna make a
I mean, this
motion?
was- But this is, Doug, had feelings on this, so I want to make sure that you're okay with this, because
How are
this
your
is your
feelings
thing.
on this?
Well,
My
this was
feel-
your,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
does it cover what you wanted?
I'm confused now, that's my,
Oh.
so, because you're saying you think just as it is.
I think as is, right?
As is, the whole
With
thing, we're
the
going.
select board
thing.
vote for funds above, yes, I
Oh.
do. Because I think really what it's saying is, we won't do X, right? So we don't have to vote on every little thing that comes up. We're saying we won't do that without, right? It's speaking to us doing it in a unilateral fashion. That's what I think it is. That's what I think it's a preventative for. That's how I read it. I could be wrong. The select board shall not do this without town administrator's authority or
Why don't we
prior
just take the town
consent.
administrator out of it and just say, the select board shall not expend town funds without
Without a select board
without a
vote.
vote. Or
There you go.
will not expend town funds above X dollars without a vote of the board.
There you go.
Here's the problem I have, is we have a town administrator, we have a town administrator who does expend the
But
the
he still
budget.
has
He
the
can.
right
He
to
can do whatever
that.
he
We're only
likes.
talking about us expending.
We're just
the funds.
talking
We're not
about
talking
us.
about him.
We're policing
He can change
ourselves.
the authority he or she has.
We trust them to
Based
do
on our
whatever.
actions, like,
But we're saying we're not gonna do it. We're not gonna individually do it. We're
it's an
gonna,
us
without a
problem,
vote.
not a them problem.
It is, totally is. You should take town administrator out because it's really not,
That's why I was trying to get at, like, what is the
Self-police,
problem we're
we're not
trying to
allowing
solve? Because I just feel like
self-policing.
this is far reaching, and I don't think that your intention is to take any authority out of the town administrator's
No.
hand.
Well,
I think it
this
is,
doesn't. This is using this is using the town administrator as a backstop to ensure that
He's
one or two
checking
members
us,
of the select
pretty
board
much.
don't just go to
Keeping us
them
in
without the full authority of the board to get an expenditure made, for example. Right, so,
So that's why the vote piece is critical there.
well, that's why I think take him out of it and have it be, we police us, not
Because
he polices us.
Keeping him in it actually just puts him in a worse scenario,
I agree.
right? we're the ones that want to police each other, it sounds like, or need to police each other, then let's deal with it as this group, right? Because the town administrators need to be put in that scenario.
Okay, but here's the problem, I think, with what I'm hearing is now the proposal. Select board shall not expend town funds without a vote of the select board,
There you
right?
go.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's fine, but does that stop one or two members of the select board going to the town administrator and saying, I want this X, Y, or Z to happen?
No.
It
and-
doesn't
I mean,
still,
and it,
No,
right?
but that's
should
the
it?
discretion of the town administrator.
Yeah,
If the
I
town
mean-
administrator thinks that that's a goal that's supported by the majority of the board, or something that's important, a priority, I mean,
That's impossible to, police, because that is kind of like natural course of what interaction is between select board and a TA, right? We're all gonna have opinions or thoughts or, things that we're gonna funnel through the TA, right? Even individually, that's nature, almost.
I understand, but if, with that statement, you could have an exact replay of what just happened,
Sure.
right?
except that the town administrator would have to be the one expending the funds.
Right, but it's,
But in this instance, there's debate over whether Gino or not was expending those funds.
exactly.
So he
wasn't.
wouldn't
So
fall
he
into,
didn't- he
this,
did-
this wouldn't qualify.
No, with the, oh, this is way too much. So, with the proposed revision, select board should not expend town funds without a vote of the select board, if that's what we're operating with. Okay?
Yep.
That doesn't stop what happened from happening again. Because one or two members of the select board could still go to the town administrator and say, I want this to happen. Town administrator,
That's been
Right.
happening that's been
Yeah,
happening
I
for the
don't think
last.
that's anything you can control. I really don't, to be honest. I
Well,
don't think any sentence
is
in
there-
any handbook can control that. That's human nature.
But I think, what I'm hearing from Doug, and I do agree with Doug, because that was a problem for me in 2022 and prior to, is seeing select board members, one select board member or just two select board members, running the show financially. And I know for me, sitting in that meeting and not even knowing about a library and then learning later on the amount of money that had been spent on all those studies and that consultant, that was, without having that public, that was a problem. So I think what we're trying to do is trying to add more transparency and have stuff in front of the board when we're spending big ticket items, right? So if we're trying to do that, we only have a couple line items that are really open to the select board, and that's under consultants, legal consultants, and there's another line item, I forget the name of it. And those line items are pretty small under the select board budget line item, but.
But we're not talking about line items, we're talking about, Doug's talking about conceptually any item. It can be up for debate, right? Because you could go and talk to the TA about anything. It doesn't have to be just your line item, right? Is that what you're
Right.
saying?
hey,
So that
wink, wink,
doesn't-
nod, nod, I want some,
Exactly.
put some solar panels over there,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just being silly, right? But, I mean.
Well, spending out of a different.
Or
So what
suggesting
You're saying is
spending.
suggesting spending out of a different budget.
I mean, to some extent, we have to kind of let,
Well, so
we
he's
have to
saying he wants-
entrust the TA to, understand the rules and how to interact with each of us, right? I mean, we have to trust at some point. We have to trust each other and we have to trust him. I just don't know that any rule is gonna, prevent human nature from happening. I really can't honestly say I think that. We could definitely put some parameters and hope for people to follow guidelines. That's what we ask, but ultimately, do we have total control? Probably not.
I guess I'm fine with the way it's written here, but
I think a vote should definitely happen, because that didn't happen last time, right? And that was really the crux of it. There was no vote.
well, there was no reason for a vote. That's why there was no vote.
Okay, so the only problem I have with my own, let's call this my own language here, is, are we then not subjecting ourselves to approving every single thing above $1,000 that happens in the town?
No, I don't think we are.
Because it's only when the select board expends funds.
Right.
Which,
Thank you.
exactly.
Great, perfect.
So that
I was
means-
just testing you guys, yeah.
So that means we're okay with this language?
Yeah, I'm great with this,
So, did somebody tell me what the language actually is?
exactly what it was,
Yep.
the whole thing.
So I would recommend that we leave it this language, and then we revisit it again, we try it try it on a run, and revisit it again a year from now.
Select board shall not expend town funds without, so we're leaving the town administrator in?
Yeah. The only thing I would tweak is I would say select board shall not expend town funds without the town administrator's prior written approval. I think authority is the wrong word there. Now that I look at it, prior written approval, and not without select board vote for any funds above $1,000.
So I think, again, if you are saying that $1,000 relates to both clauses, we should put it first. The select board shall not expend town funds over $1,000 without the town administrator's prior written approval and a select board vote.
Right.
Okay, so I'm so sorry to throw this in there, but what happens if the select board decides they need something that they can't go to the town administrator and ask him for something? If there's, all of a
Like
sudden,
what?
the select board is in executive session and they need to spend money on something that might have to do with the town administrator.
Oh, good.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
except in extreme circumstances, and we're gonna put one of those in there that's gonna be open-ended, I
Okay, well,
mean.
maybe come back, maybe now you could,
Because I'd hate to
think
put the
we-
select board in
Maybe-
Maybe we
violation.
need to discuss this with legal. Maybe we need some guidance on this, because it seems like we're not hitting it.
well, maybe, but
Well-
maybe just take out,
Town
take out
administrator.
without the town administrator's prior written approval.
Right.
Back to select board
Select
shall not
board,
expend more than $1,000 without a select board vote. So now you're back to,
yeah, which is what I said. And
Very good, Katie. Okay, so can we have,
It is my day job, guys.
okay, so
Okay,
can,
so select board will not expend town funds over $1,000 without
a vote?
select board vote. There you
oh,
go.
now I know why that, okay, now I'm back to the same problem I had with
Yeah,
it before.
I mean, your argument is cyclical, Doug, so you're gonna be
Yeah.
in the same hot water you were in before.
Do you wanna consult legal?
I mean, why don't we just consult legal?
Oh,
Yes.
Okay, fine. Listen, I'm fine, but all right.
I don't want to spend any more money on legal.
Yeah, but I don't wanna put lines in here that don't make sense, so that's fine.
Well,
All right,
we-
is there a motion on the table?
All right, give it this, here's my last shot at it.
This was supposed to be the easier of the two.
I know,
Yeah.
well, that was
Soon,
your
soon our new
choice,
TA
Madam
is gonna
Chair.
walk out the door and cry. So let's,
Okay, so, select board shall not.
Did we get Nick's signature page before this meeting started?
yeah,
Do we?
hopefully.
Is that what you've been waiting for?
No, he's watching us.
He's-
Just here for the fun.
Select board shall not expend more than $1,000
Sorry, Di.
In town funds.
okay, in town funds. I'm keeping in without TA prior written approval.
Thought we just took that out.
I know, but I'm coming back, I know, but no, I want it in. Prior written approval, and not without select board vote. I want to get the exception in here that you were bringing up. Except for expenditures. I'm trying to deal with your scenario.
Our scenario.
Expenditures concerning the town administrator?
Well-
Is that what we're gonna put? Because
Right.
I think that sounds insane.
No, I mean, you could say
to be
something like
honest. I love
except
you to death, Doug, but I
expenditures
think
in
that's-
extreme circumstances, at which point the chair and vice chair must sign off prior to expending. Or something like that.
I don't know, you don't know what that
I mean,
means.
I don't
You're
know.
not good with that?
It's close enough, yeah.
Wait a minute, Danielle.
I think we're making this way harder
We
than,
are.
than it needs to be. I don't know. I get it. I get the intent all around. I just think that,
you know.
Well, I could tell you what legal will say if we go to them and ask them. They're gonna say, a line like this and a handbook like this shouldn't exist, because a handbook like this shouldn't exist, because.
Good, let's forget it.
Okay.
Because, I'll tell you why, because they have said it to us recently when we've asked them to re-review it. It's been in the comment section, which is basically like, the more
Yeah.
things
You in.
you put in writing and then trip up procedures are, in an effort to be transparent, often end up putting the town in a worse position than in a better position. I'm not saying that's something I necessarily agree with, but I am saying that is what they have said to us in the past. So,
Well, that just gets rid of the whole handbook, then, right?
well, I'm not suggesting we get rid of the whole handbook, but
Well,
I'm saying that's why this does become a slippery slope, and every time there's a problem, to put a solution to the problem in the handbook actually sometimes begets more problems. So, is it not better that we all just take a blood oath and say we're not gonna do that while we're on the board? I mean,
Sounds good.
I know that doesn't solve problems for future generations, but like, if it is
sure
a
doesn't. Yeah.
four of us problem, which it sounds like it's not, because we brought up other examples where it isn't, then maybe it is just something that we tackle in other ways, like in in speaking with the TA about goals and responsibilities, and then how we review the TA, and we look for instances like this where we feel like the support of the board wasn't given prior to action or something like that. Like, I think there are ways we communicate it and make it important without necessarily making it a line in the handbook. But I'm also not trying to skirt the issue, and if it's important, then we'll live with it in the handbook and we'll be fine.
We're looking for ways to put ourselves in check with an addendum to a handbook, and that's just not, it's not gonna work, right? I think that the intent has to be like, that we have to police ourselves and know what we can and can't do, right? I mean, what good does this do if we put this in here? So we have a gotcha moment against someone else? I mean, what are we looking to do, right?
Well, I mean, it could be more educational, right? I mean, yes, it's a small thing, I get that, but it doesn't seem to be a one-off. So, where else are you gonna have it, besides in a handbook, to educate people on, like, this is the rules of the road? So, I don't see an issue in that regard, but.
So what happens when we violate this rule? Who polices this? And how do what do we do about it when it happens? Like, I mean, are we gonna go down that avenue too? Right? Because if that's what we're talking about, like, what's the sense of having a rule if no one is policing it?
Well, sure.
and there's
I mean, if
no-
you want to be, one, I think it sends a message educationally to future select board members, to the town administrator as well, like these are the rules that you're supposed to be playing in, right? And if someone blatantly does this, then, I think you've got grounds for, serious, censure or whatever else. I mean, this is like a significant.
But then we
thing.
have to put that in here, don't we?
No, I mean.
How do we know that then, right? I mean,
Well, anyone can choose to evaluate it as such, there's no guideline about like, these are the 12 things that lead to censure in here, for example,
right.
right? Yeah.
So it sounds like we have what I'm hearing is we have 3 people right now are more inclined to not add anything in here.
It's not that I'm not inclined,
I'm
I
not-
just think it
Me
needs
either.
to be
I'm inclined
more
to add that
developed.
we vote on things, right?
Okay.
And that expenditures can't happen without us voting as a body, right? I'm not, that's what I would be comfortable with,
Okay,
right?
so that's.
Because I feel like that would safeguard us a little bit,
Okay,
right? Or at least put some guardrails on. What I don't want to do is put the town administrator, this one, the next one, or any future, in an awkward position where they have to police us.
so can we just say then that the select board shall not expend town funds without the vote of the majority of the select board?
Sure.
Would that do it?
Does that help at all?
Yeah, it
Yeah, I mean,
helps.
it's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing, yeah. I mean,
Okay,
I would prefer select board should not expend more than $1K in town funds without TA prior written approval and not without select board vote, except for expenditures pertaining to the TA.
so I don't want the TA in here,
Okay.
only because of past experience. That sometimes the select board does need to vote to spend money, that is outside of the TA's purview or even knowledge.
So that still puts that provision, safety net, in there with it being a TA, and it puts a piece of what you're looking for,
Right.
which is that we vote on things and that not one member does it unilaterally.
Right.
Right, so I feel like that's a good middle of the road.
Which one, the simple one?
The,
Okay. All right,
Okay,
that's
so the
fine.
simple one is, the select board shall not expend town funds without a majority vote of the select board.
Great.
Diane, you have that?
Select board shall not expend town funds, are we saying over $1,000?
No.
no.
We're just saying
Okay.
it all,
Without a majority select board vote, or without a
without
vote?
the vote of the majority of the select board.
Yep.
Okay, so the motion is to amend the Procedures, Policies, and Regulations Manual, Chapter 7, to add the additional language as just described to Diane.
Or, I'm just gonna throw this out there, do we wanna wait for David to see if he has an opinion here?
No,
Or if he
I mean,
has
we could
some-
always,
can always
Just-
we
change
could always
it.
revisit
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
appreciate that.
second.
Well, nobody motioned, I just
Oh,
said
that
that
was-
would be the motion.
That was my motion.
Oh, that is the motion,
Yeah.
okay, so
Mary
Mary
Ellen.
Ellen, then Doug, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right. Now at 9 o'clock.
That was my only goal, so that takes, streamlines the next one.
Okay. All right, select board goals. So this is what always happens. Every time we talk about select board goals, it becomes 9 o'clock at night and it's the end of the meeting and it becomes tiresome. Why are you looking at me like that? This is what always happens, which is why last time we made
No,
it a
we were on a
Saturday meeting.
Saturday.
And we prioritized it. So, what Diane has done for us is she has given us the goals from the last time we met on goals, which was June 29th, 2024. We met on a Saturday morning on the first floor of Town Hall, and we listed out, not only did we list out goals, we then prioritized those goals.
We did.
As a group, which I thought was, really great. So maybe what we could attempt to do is try to create just a list of goals tonight. And then when David's back, we can try to prioritize those in the next section. So rather than just having it be a free-for-all, let's break it down to make sure all the goals we think we would like to accomplish are on there, and then we can talk more completely about which ones are the priorities. We did that through check marks last time. So just to sort of remind you of where we were a little over a year ago. Financial, tax levy, AAA rating, capital plan, the summit, the schools were all under one sort of umbrella, and it got 3 check marks, which means 3 board members.
Where are you finding
supported
that?
it. It was-
On
it
the
was in
back
packet.
side.
It's in our new packet?
Yep.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Got it.
People, so a strong team, non-union personnel, union personnel, and the contracts, the process by which we go about doing, and the relationships, also 3 checks. So those were the 2 most important things we left with. I would say, having not revisited this since 2024, that the financial piece has still remained a pretty clear priority, although we have not had a financial summit yet. The hope is that that is on the horizon. 2 checks was CPA, infrastructure, and community engagement. 1 check was economic development, select board relations / collective unit, and tax exemptions for lower income residents. And then there were a bunch of other items that were put on as, put on here, but I believe we only gave ourselves 2 check marks.
Right.
Yeah, so how
So
did
we
we do,
had
so
to-
we just we put all of our stuff out on the table, and then we said, okay, you only have, now that all your stuff's out there, you get an additional
You get
2
2
checks.
checks.
You get to use your checks.
Yep, and so then that's how we prioritized. So
So I thi-
David provided a handful of ideas.
David provided his 4 priorities.
Yep, so,
I think it makes sense to look at these 2024 and actually check off what have been accomplished, because a significant number of them have.
Great, let's
right?
do that.
Such as the CPA being passed, veterans housing.
Okay, so going down the list, this says climate under financial, I'm not sure what that is. The middle school, that one isn't accomplished. Pedestrian safety, I guess, is probably
I
that.
don't know how this is financial.
And then fishermen's pier and resiliency projects, all under financial, I don't know how that is, but
I don't.
people, strong team, non-union, union contracts, process and relationships. I would say, while an attempt was made, we maybe do not put that high on the success list.
No.
Unfortunately.
No.
ADA infrastructure, housing authority.
Phillips Beach bathroom.
Phillips Beach bathroom, pedestrian safety and expansion of bike lanes. So
Okay.
at least the housing authority piece, I think there was an attempt to prioritize that as a ARPA designation. It just didn't come to fruition.
Right, so I would
So I
say,
think the board is thoughtful of that, and for whatever reason,
so I think we've accomplished veterans housing, we've accomplished securing a hotel, we've accomplished DEI, we're in the middle of that. We've accomplished addressing the beaches and the pollution issue. I would say we've actually accomplished that because we've allocated a number.
And I'm sure that's what you mean.
Right.
like
We're
ongoing.
progressing.
Yes,
to
we're
the-
progressing. We're
Right.
better than we
We're-
were in
And you
24
skipped
and
economic
25.
development, I think.
I
There
did.
too.
I think
Venice
Venice
there's
Square-
process, master plan, there's
Exactly.
Yeah, and it
process.
doesn't mean it doesn't appear in 2025, because
Right.
it still could be a
Right.
priority for us, but we
Right.
have
It's
made
in
progress.
progress. Yep.
We've made
Right.
progress.
Um,
Asset management infrastructure assessments, so
Definitely no.
I think
don't know what that is.
there is some room to grow there. Community engagement.
We have definitely improved community engagement, right? We have not perfected it by any means, but we're on the road towards that, I would say.
I would say there's a difference between rec facilitated community engagement and more like what the DEI stuff is talking about, community engagement.
Right.
Like, so,
Well,
yeah, I
if
think
you
there's.
encompass the website and, you know,
Yeah.
all of that, then we have a ways to go.
Site.
But
Yeah, yeah. Select board acting as a collective unit.
we're working on that.
That's good.
We are trying to improve that, I believe.
I will say, I would say that from 2025 to present, I hope we have turned a corner, but for a good portion, we weren't doing that. So,
Right.
hopefully we are there now, and not to sort of pick at old wounds, but let's continue to prioritize that. The
Wait,
whole-
you know what, I can't pretend this. Just a few meetings ago, we were not acting like this, and I still feel that that's open. So I'm gonna leave it right there, but I can't go ahead and say, yeah, we're acting like a collective unit. I think there still is an issue that possibly needs a little bit of soul searching. So that's all I'm gonna say on that one.
Okay.
Hawthorne vision, clarity with a good community input.
And we're soliciting that. We're trying to get that.
Yeah.
And that's actively in the works.
Yep.
Right? Though I do think, personally anyway, one of my priorities or goals is seeing the Hawthorne vision come to fruition, right? Having a hard stop and figuring out what we're doing and doing it sooner rather than later. That is my own personal, I'm just putting that out there. That is probably my top priority, to be quite honest.
Community center.
That's, you know,
It's in,
it's in motion.
there's some motion
Yeah.
there. Yep,
Yeah.
there's some steps forward, which is fantastic. Glover House, site development, affordable housing. I feel like this
Compilation
should
of
be
things.
one under
Yeah,
another.
I mean, exactly, yeah.
So Glover
Right.
Glover House site development.
Right, and then affordable housing separate.
Well, but that's-
Well,
that's
it was
right.
all related at one
Or
point
is
in
it?
time, because when
Right.
we were talking about it in 2024, it was the concept of,
Still is, that's the zoning.
right, but we, at the time,
2022.
So that gets there's a light
In
check on
progress.
that. too.
light check.
Mhm.
CPA, I think,
CPA is a check.
is a heavy check.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's, I mean, great, great action has been taken on that.
Climate action.
Climate action initiatives.
I'm trying to think like literally within the last year. I mean, there was a lot that happened.
I know, so much happened quickly,
Right.
which was
when
great.
Neil was still here, and the
Yep.
first year, at least when I was here, and then, I'm not sure in the last year. I mean, the committee's doing a lot. Oh, he actually got green community designation.
Yep.
Green
Right.
community? No, climate leader, climate leader.
Didn't
So,
we do
yes.
that, didn't we get that in 2024?
No, climate leader just came,
Just-
there's a lot
that's-
of work that was done by the
Okay.
committee, and that just came in the last few months, and that leads to the big grant opportunities. So
Mhm.
I think on that alone, that's probably.
That's a check.
Yep.
Tax exemption, what are we?
Yeah, there were a couple of us, I think, that were interested in pursuing this, and we
Oh, yeah,
actually
David
did do
mentioned
this
it.
a little bit,
Yes, we
right?
did.
I was
And
gonna
the-
say-
We absolutely
Yeah.
did. Yes, that, I didn't know that was what it was referring.
This was brought up by the Board of Assessors.
Hmm.
Yes,
The Board of Assessors
Assessor.
owns this one.
and David, well,
Yep.
David actually did too.
Actually, David added later, he supports it, but what, the Board of Assessors actually made changes, recommended literal changes that you could make. For example, you can extend you could end up not paying your taxes if you're a senior. You
Right.
could not pay your taxes, and then the interest rate at
Right.
town meeting was voted to be a much lower interest rate.
Right, but I think David brought up the city of Revere, who was doing a similar program, or something to do with the city of Revere,
There was another
that
vote.
was
We-
doing another program.
Yeah.
It was
Did he
We
not?
took a
different
vote.
program.
Yeah,
We took a vote to support that in a certain.
and it was a similar initiative,
Yeah, okay, so
but anyway,
Okay, mental health and opioid investments.
ARPA, big time.
ARPA.
yeah.
Yep.
Elm Place,
What is Elm Place integration?
I don't really know.
That was
Was that just a?
dealing with the whole fact with the parking
The Westcott?
and,
So
yeah,
that's a
That's
check.
really
so
what we're
that's-
talking about,
That's
Westcott.
in
the
progress.
traffic,
Yeah,
you know, working.
that's still in progress.
But I will say that I do feel, without getting into any hot water, yes, although there were many things that we learned from Westcott, the community process that was involved in Westcott and how when the neighborhood started to, and maybe it wasn't fast enough, but when Officer Reen got involved and had the community process, I think that particular event sort of spurred a lot of future events from occurring. And I think there was a great success there in like having a forum for listening and then taking action based on a collective response of the community feedback and not just selective people and their community feedback.
Right, I think a lot of that, to just jump on that, I think Gino and Officer Reen deserve all the credit, a ton of credit, all the credit for that and Marzi,
And Marzi,
organizing those community meetings, getting people out. I mean, Marzi really turned out people in all those situations. And then Officer Reen and Gino constantly following up that, I know my phone was ringing off the hook, and then it seems like things have calmed down and it's much better, so it's a great job that you guys have done.
Thank you.
All right, so I guess maybe if we had to give ourselves a review, like we would say like
C plus.
slightly below moderate.
50-50?
That's- I feel
Well,
like,
it's a work in progress, but
Who
Yeah.
asked? Who asked you, Gino?
On my way out the door.
he says with great confidence, marking down.
So
blocks
should we,
and percentages.
should we tally up all the things that are our goals now?
Yeah,
I think we should just start listing
I don't know
what
about a
our,
grade.
what our,
Let's
I don't
get-
think we need a
move
grade,
forward,
I
yeah.
just
No, I
think
wasn't-
we
I-
need to.
I'm sorry, I wasn't saying, I just think like it is important that we look back and see
Right, what we accomplished.
what we missed and what we
Right.
accomplished. So part of looking back to say, yes, we feel like we've gotten somewhere on some of these, it's like, okay, well then also what's left is what we didn't do, and was there missed opportunity to do any of that?
Right.
So we don't have to do all that tonight, but we should definitely put together a list going forward, and the easiest thing to do would be to say, what if these lists are ongoing and we need to continue?
Right, so let's see if we can come up with 5 each right now, off the top of your head, what your list is.
Oh, man, I have more than 5.
All right, well, I'm sure you do, but let's
Well,
at least try to
maybe
see if
Some
Some
we
of yours will be.
Sure.
in there.
My first is the Hawthorne.
Mhm.
We
Okay.
need to
I think
decide
we'll
what to
put
do with it, and we need to do that
White-
sooner rather than
Right on the
later.
whiteboard, I know you love that.
Doug loves the whiteboard.
Me for all three people.
Well, it'll be good for us. Some people are visual learners, Doug.
It's true, it's true. Okay, so 1 is Hawthorne.
Hawthorne.
Mhm. 2 is the completion of the Hadley project.
Oh, good.
Okay. 3 for me, and I don't want to use the term financial summit, but I would like this town to start looking at its financial priorities as a cumulative group, right? So that's not just us making decisions, that's us talking to finance, schools, and understanding the whole town and what we need. So kind of a financial summit, but more organic, more cumulative, if that makes
Select board,
sense.
school committee, and who else?
Finance committee.
Finance. Yep.
So that when we're thinking about individual projects, we're not looking at them in a vacuum or a silo, but we're looking at all the projects we need to look at when we're talking about what we're gonna pay for.
Friendly member, CIC as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
So you can make a big category, financial issues, and then start outlining all that underneath.
Yeah. And then, what did I have? Hold on. So, and to David's, to go off what David had here, and I concur with this, prioritization of the staffing of town hall and understanding what jobs need to be funded, what jobs aren't there that need to be filled. A holistic look at all of the staffing and FTEs at town hall and what we need, what we don't need, what we have, what we don't have. So I agree with David on that one. And then my last priority is looking at our properties, right? Our unused ones, the Clark School, what we're doing with it, where we can somehow combine ideas. So if we need affordable housing, or if we need somewhere to put, people that are in the housing authority while we're redoing it, looking at our actual property inventory and understanding the big picture. Do we need a life center here? Do we need this to go here? And that includes even the Hawthorne, right?
So it's like a land use master plan, not the
Ex-
master plan, but.
Right.
the
Or property
of town.
master plan, right? And really seeing what can fit where without having to, buy or spend or whatnot. Those are mine.
I will just finish David's really quick, so you can, economic development efforts, including Humphrey Street, Hawthorne, Hadley, small business improvements, parking improvements
Whose
downtown.
is this?
This is David's.
Okay.
He provided this. Parking improvements downtown, focusing on revenue generation. Oh, sorry, focus should not be solely on revenue generation, but instead striking a balanced approach. 3, collaboration with the Swampscott Housing Authority to fund/partially fund a feasibility study to create new public housing units in Swampscott without displacing current residents. And he says, no, ARPA funds were previously allocated up to $200,000 for a feasibility study. Feasibility study could result in tens of millions being allocated to create new public housing for the first time in 50-plus years in Swampscott. That's his note. 4, continued focus on repairing infrastructure, particularly water, sewer, stormwater infrastructure. Need to address as a priority for the region and continue efforts to collaborate with the City of Lynn and the Commonwealth. And the note he put on this one is, previously the Select Board has committed $3.5 million a year for 3 years to improve stormwater/sewer infrastructure, potentially need to reevaluate spend to coincide with efforts from the City of Lynn.
Which I kind of interpret as I'm not so like we gotta maybe calibrate if they're not gonna spend, we're not gonna spend, or. are we
I
gonna
guess
spend?
we'll
Or-
have,
I don't know.
yeah, I guess we'll have to see what he means by that. I think it's actually, I think it is,
Well, we're mandated to spend because we're under consent.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't mandate a certain amount.
No.
Okay. Mariella, would you like to go next?
Sure. So this is not in any particular order, but I want to get us nailed in for the trash contracts that are coming up. The Solid Waste Advisory Committee has begun starting to work to look at that. They also received a grant forum, my consultant,
DEP, yep.
DEP, to start to, put together a really good contract. So I just want to make sure that we're on target of getting that nailed down. That's going to be a very, very large piece of our expenses in the next budget. I also want to make sure that we're in line with what's happening with the strike, what we're spending, what we're going to get back. I don't want to end up not only taking a hit with this trash strike, but then also increasing our legal fees, because we may end up having to push legal fees to make sure everything gets balanced.
Can I do a little friendly thing there, Mary Ann, just like,
Yeah.
I mean, Gina, can we have an accounting? I mean,
I have an accountant of it.
yeah, maybe, yeah.
We're on the plus side for the month of July.
I want to go back to identifying our contracts. I want to get ready for our health insurance contracts and start to break that down and to start revisiting how to reduce our expenses and at the same time increase our benefits to employees, have a possibly better benefits package at a lower price to us. So Doug and I started with the past town administrator. What was it, 2 years ago we started? Wow, 2 years ago this fall. And what we learned as we were getting into it, what we learned was we did not notify.
You missed the window. GIC.
We did not notify GIC that in the timely manner that we were leaving the contract. So we just need to, I really would like to see all.
Probably coming up again.
It's probably 6 months, usually it's at least.
It was 1 year.
End of December, probably, I bet.
Oh, actually, it was long, it was 3 years.
You have to
It was-
notify
it
3
was
years
3
ahead of
years.
time?
It was something just totally ridiculous. Amy told me it was 3 years, we had to wait 3 years.
That doesn't
So
make
we could just go back and visit that, and actually, I'd like to see a full list of every contract we have with expiration dates, just so we always know where everything is and not get surprised. So the health insurance is a big one. I'm in agreement with the financial issues. I want to really get some serious clarity around where we are financially. I want to make sure that we are focused on getting a transition audit worked up. I'd like to have a backup plan and see where we're at with all of our town employees as far as staff. If Gino Cresta decides to go to Fiji for the next year to recuperate, who's going to be backing up DPW? So I just want to know, what is our backup plan across the entire town?
So that's a separate.
That's a separate thing that I'm interested in. Just want to, I think pretty much I'm in agreement with David as far as evaluating what all the roles are in the town as far as labor, maybe some labor, consolidate some labor, add different labor, and also to look at possibly regionalizing with Nahant in a couple of different cases.
You're saying you agree with David on that. I'm not
So that's staffing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, in the broad sense, yes, but it sounds a, it's a
I'm looking-
little
Yours
different.
is different.
It sounds like,
He's
yeah.
just talking about evaluating
He's like
FTEs.
filling the roles,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You're adding.
No, I'm
another-
looking at doing an audit on most roles. Actually, doing some type of an audit on roles and seeing if that's, we're getting the most out of what we're putting in there, if it's really a good idea. And possibly adding part-time labor to supplement other areas. Those are just possibilities. I'd like to see a full communication calendar that encompasses the schools and the town. I'd like to be able to pull up on a website and just see that there's a field hockey game on Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and then I could also go to a zoning board meeting at 7 o'clock, just something. I mean, there's so many things that happen with the schools that I would like to go and watch, and you gotta click this event, that event. It's too much clicking around. So if we had something, I had a chance to talk to our new recreation director, who has a little bit of experience in this, and I just asked her if it was possible to have a big calendar, and she said it's totally possible.
Yeah, it
She
is.
said she was gonna talk to you about how to do it.
Excellent.
I want to, now I'm not, this is really little, but I really would like to find a way, I'd like to review our hiring process of the new town administrator. I'd just like to have something together so that we know what we did right, what we can improve on, and,
Oh, like a postmortem?
yep, postmortem on that. And then the last thing is, I want to see a very, very serious update on where we are with Stacy Brook, with source elimination. When Gino and I met with, his name was John from Kleinfelder, was it John?
John Ray Hill.
So John had said that the source elimination testing that was going on at the time, this was in the spring, that it was advancing pretty quickly, and that I think he had said he was forecasting, was it a $6 million? It would cost $6 million, and we should have the Stacy Brook pipes all lined within,
Yeah, I think it's a
it was
little
like
more.
3 years, 4
3
years?
years, 3 years at $3.5 million per year, so, roughly $10 million.
Right, so, I just want to get an update, I just to get a public update on that, to see where we really are, and to see some real numbers. And I think that's oh, and under Hadley Hawthorne, I just want to also add Glover. Not that that's town property, but that's something out there, I'd like to see that, where are we at with that?
Hawthorne, Glover.
And you have up there the backup employee plan, right? Yep. Okay. Those are my highlights.
You want me to go next, or you want to go next?
Sure, go.
Number 1, employee relations. I actually have the opposite feeling that we should be evaluating whether employees have a space in town hall right now. I feel like we should be figuring out what's open, how we fill those roles. If we don't have to fill those roles, let's figure out what that looks like. But like, we should be also putting a plan in place about how we help morale in town hall right now.
And the climate assessment.
One thing else, you said the opposite.
Well, I feel like Mary Ellen was sort of saying, like, she wants to reevaluate every single role and figure out if every role needs to be there. I think, like,
Oh, no, hold on, just so I'm clear, I want to, like, you might have a role that's doing, like, so many multiple things. Should that one role be doing so many multiple things?
Got it.
Whereas another role is, like, not doing a whole lot. Is there a way to share, consolidate? Like, what's in the best interest of the employee and in the town? Like, what's,
okay.
Yep.
So,
I'm not looking to get rid of people.
okay. So I guess maybe it's sort of aligned, but employee relationships, still very important that we,
It's really all staffing.
Labor
Yes,
Staffing and
staffing
FTEs.
and-
That's what all
yes,
of this
yep.
is.
and morale.
Right. And that's a climate assessment.
I think we need a financial.
Just morale or just hiring? I just want to make sure.
It's both. I want to make sure that we fill the roles with good people who want to stay, and that we keep the people who want to stay in town hall who are doing great work. I wrote a financial reeval, whether it's in the form of a summit. We're still committed to do a summit. We are meeting in Tri-Chair tomorrow, but it's sort of a reevaluation of our financial policies. Does it make sense given the economic climate and our position in the economic climate now? That conversation. Communications. For me, that includes a lot of the stuff that came up in the DEI conversation. A lot of the DEI stuff for us when we hired that consultant was really a lot more about community members being heard, how they get heard, facilitating safe spaces, not necessarily like traditional DEI things that we jump to. Also the website has been a topic of conversation. Actually, when I first started, I emailed Diane and I said, hey, these are 10 town websites that I find easier to use than our town website. And we just never went anywhere with that because we had just finished the website. And so Diane and I have never picked that back up.
But we are undergoing an upgrade, probably by the end of December.
Okay.
And now we have a TA who's got experience with websites and IT.
Great. And then also, I think I had brought up last year a community calendar. It sounds a lot like what Mary Ellen's talking about, but not just, yes, we could populate it too, but there would be some sort of way for Swampscott Youth Lacrosse, Swampscott Youth Soccer, the Drama Club, all sorts of people with permission to be posting to it so that it becomes Girl Scouts, all sorts of things.
And I think our new rec director can help with that also.
Right.
Mary
Select
Ellen's
board unity and respect. I think that's still something we need to consciously subscribe to. Regionalization opportunities. We are not going to hire ourselves out of some of these problems. We need to be partnering with neighboring towns, not just Nahant, not just, but we need to be thinking out of the box. If that involves like a try agreement or something like that, we need to start thinking of those types of things. We also need to think about them for the future. So if we're not thinking about them right now, we had talked very briefly about a chief safety officer or something happening regionally, and then sort of figuring out like if that works from a police, fire, ambulance perspective, if that put us in a better position. Even when we're negotiating trash contracts, if a regional partner is up around the same time we are, do we get a better rate if we are on the same contract? We have to look into what
IT is a thing too.
Yeah, we have to look into
Collaboration.
what the problems are, like if one party defaults versus the other and things like that. But just trying to figure out interesting ways to solve financial problems.
Maybe like our regional select boards, we would all meet once a month.
One from each town based on population sounds a lot like something I know. Beaches, pipes. I don't want to stop that being a priority just because we're doing it.
Right.
I think it still needs to make the list, and we still need to continue to do it because I think we are seeing somewhat success. I'm curious to see if how David is going to interpret the comment that is on his goals. So we'll get there when we get there. And then economic development: Hadley, Vinnon, Hawthorne, Glover, and to Danielle's point, unused properties. Or vacant properties, or soon-to-be vacant properties, and why are we not thinking of it in advance? We've been talking about Clark for a long time. Say, 10 years down the line, we get to some idea of what a community life center looks like and it gets built, then what are we doing with the senior center?
Right.
Or, like having...
What's the succession?
Yes, having succession plans for buildings. And yeah, that's a little hard because they're a little more fluid, but it should be part of the master plan, right? And as new buildings come online, we just talked about it tonight, how they can play a role in some of the things that we in town feel like we're missing.
Did it capture Hawthorne, Hadley, Clark, vacant properties, succession plans?
You forgot my favorite, the Glover.
Did you say that?
I sure as heck did, Doug. You probably just
Couldn't
didn't
get
hear
registered.
it. You probably just
Did
didn't
you
hear
say
it.
my, what'd you just say?
I said you missed my favorite, the Glover.
The Glover. That'll be at the top of your list, Doug. Come on, it's your turn.
That's all she wrote.
So many good choices.
I was gonna say, you have the benefit of having all these options.
Yeah, you don't have to say CPA now. That's already done.
Well, I mean.
There's still some work to be done
Oh, of
there,
course
but-
there is, but
we
if
have
at least
to
it exists.
Seat the committee and, I mean, but that effectively they'll be doing that. It is on my list because, I don't want to get.
'Cause it's
I know-
not
I know we
finished?
spent it 3 times over, but like.
Yeah,
You're
how are we gonna
basically
use it?
generate $1 million a year.
Right, what are we
right?
gonna do with
To
it?
get to that point, that's what we have to get to that point, right? Like,
So I don't know. I don't want to put it at the top because it's not my top, but, Swampscott Housing Authority Master Plan is my number one. I think Hawthorne is number 2. I just feel like it's been out there for so long and it's hard to make choices, and fortunately we're in a place where we have the wheels running on Pine Street and we have the wheels running on Hadley, so they're important, but in terms of like prioritization of our effort and focus, I feel like it needs to be on the Hawthorne, to bring that to a conclusion.
Agree.
I think the next is the, trying to think of the actual address. What is the address across from the Walgreens where that old house is?
Glover, Salem Street?
Salem Street.
What's that?
299.
299 Salem. I want to call it.
You don't want to call it Glover.
I want it because very
Because you're talking about the
intentionally-
development of that parcel, not the
Exactly.
Glover house.
Exactly. I want to talk about a balanced, completed, integrated plan.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
I agree.
That balances getting the housing bill, that includes affordable housing, it includes tax revenue, and includes a amenable solution to the house.
Asterisk, sort of what I'm talking about.
Okay? I don't disagree with anything that's up here, really. So I'm just trying to,
Find any gaps?
Cheating, Doug.
That's okay, that's Doug's,
Kidding.
that's Doug's benefit as scribe. This won't be, it doesn't have to be a exhaustive list,
yeah.
too. We
I
can,
want to keep it,
we can ruminate on it till we don't meet again till the 8th. What I would like to do on the 8th is if there were any glaring holes that we missed, we fill them in. And then we do sort of what we did last time where we check mark them. And we actually,
there is one more.
we actually prioritize them because what then I will like to do, go ahead Doug, you finish and then I'll finish. Climate
I
action.
knew climate was coming. I
Well,
knew it was
it's
gonna
very,
be somewhere.
the climate leader, there is actually another one too. Climate leader investment decision. Just because it is a very big one.
Okay.
This
Yep.
is the $150
Oh, jeez.
million
Oh, Lord.
decision about what we're gonna do next.
Okay.
With that money. And the other one I do feel strongly about is this unused property master plan.
That's right, Doug.
Okay, sorry, go ahead, Katie.
So next meeting would like to sort of do a version of the check mark situation. And then basically I would like to keep the list as a living list. And when we get ourselves into situations where we feel like we don't know the answer, we should refer to the list. And we should actually say, well, what does this accomplish? Or if we're stuck with a 3-2 split or something like that, like explaining to the community why 3 of us or 2 of us feel like it aligns with goals or doesn't align with goals. Sometimes taking people out of the moment and bringing them back to this umbrella perspective and understanding like, okay, before it was personal and emotional, it was a goal, and this is how I feel like we're obtaining that goal, will help us get out of some of those sticky wickets that we've been in recently. And I'm not saying it's going to solve every problem, but I do think it will be helpful. So whether it lives on the town website as Select Board Goals 2025, and then we sort of try to once a quarter look back at it and say like, do we feel like we've progressed anywhere? Maybe give us like a red, green, yellow or something so that the public can sort of understand where we feel like we're at, and still allowing it room to live and allocate as things change. And then if it's successful, I would like to actually modify process and procedure to commit that this is what we're going to do going forward.
I just forgot to add in, I do want to see us address a charter review, getting a charter review in place.
Charter review.
I'm not sure if you have room on the board, Mary.
You could put it under somebody else's name.
You just have the benefit of going last.
Yeah,
So I just want to say a couple things. And I think that while we have all of these suggestions, even the ones, specifically the ones I have, they're meant to be guidelines for the TA and the TA to carry out the day-to-day, right? And I don't, even when we say staffing and FTEs, like that's a high-level overview, and then it's for the TA to implement, right? We want there to be that separation still. That's my intent anyway, so I want to make that clear. And the other piece too, I think, we have to acknowledge that somewhere in this, we have to acknowledge our attempts at trying to comply with open meeting law, transparency. That is something we've been I won't say dinged on, but people have brought to us, right? And I think we have to recommit to doing the best that we can, and sometimes it's through no fault of our own. We're really trying in good faith, but I think that should be something that we continue to strive for.
Yeah. Here, here.
Do you want that up there?
No, I mean, that's just like an overall.
Okay. Let's leave that there for now and move on to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Aye. Oh,
I don't know.
look at how easy that was.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I just want to read for the public who doesn't have, I don't know where my.
The items?
I'm trying to find. Here it is, sorry. There's so many pages here. Yep, so it's a SRF application for $3.5 million, a one-day liquor license for Sip Wine Education LLC for a fall wine tasting at the Senior Center, approval of a one-day liquor license for a Sip of Science event at the library, a vote on the Fix-It Clinic to be presented by the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, and approval of the minutes, just in case you're not looking at the agenda. All right, select board time. Mary Ellen?
I want to say thank you to Nathan Kent, Nate Beischheimer, Alexander Perez for your hard work tonight. And I also want to give a special happy birthday to John Phelan for all of his support and being a great dad. I happen to be friends with two of the people he's home with, and they've
Hopefully they're sleeping.
told me what a great guy he is. So happy birthday, John. That's all I have for tonight.
Doug?
I'm just recognizing, is this Gino's last meeting?
No.
If you want it to be.
Oh, no, but.
It is.
It is. Yeah.
Because the meeting that was scheduled for the
That's what
1st
scared him away.
is being moved to the
The
8th
8th.
because of the holiday.
Right.
So Gino was going to have one more meeting, and since I couldn't get him to start on the 1st, I moved the meeting to the 8th for you so that you wouldn't have to do it. You're welcome.
And the 6th made it exactly 11 months, but who's counting?
Not you. Not you.
Well, Gino, thank you.
Welcome.
Huge thank you. We owe you a big debt of gratitude, which is not equivalent to a big debt, okay? Everybody okay? But anyway, no, we owe you a big debt of gratitude. Probably in retrospect, it really wasn't fair to have you try to do two jobs at once, but, we survived and thrived in the midst of it. So really, really appreciate, you and I don't agree on everything. Probably none of us and you agree on everything, but really appreciate everything you've done, especially, and then like just for fun, let's throw a trash strike on top of it, right? So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gino.
Thanks,
Danielle?
Okay, so I don't have enough words to use for you, Gino Cresta. I don't. I really, truly don't. I don't think I've ever met somebody like you with the work ethic that you have, the sense of obligation to this town and commitment like I've never seen in my life. I thank you incredibly. You did an unbelievable job when a lot of times, not intentionally, but we did kind of set you up to fail. And you still were able to excel, and I'm really proud to know you. And this opportunity gave me a little bit deeper insight into Gino Cresta, and I'm entirely a better person for that, and I'm glad to have experienced that with you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Before I get all emotional now, because you're that good of a human, on to other things. The parking issue at the elementary school, we heard from a lot of people about that tonight. We know that it's out there, it's a thing. I just want to remind everybody that a year ago, we sat and we had forums, we spoke to residents, we talked to parents, we talked to school administrators, and we were all, in the police certainly, and we were all on board with the plan that we have in place, which is the parking signs, the restrictive parking, and we also said at that point that we would reevaluate if we needed to, that we would pivot if we needed to and adjust. And I think that maybe we need to do that here. But, you know, I think the police are doing exactly what we asked them to do. And, you know it's difficult to park and pick up kids. I pick up my kids every day at that school, and I park where I'm supposed to park, right? And that's just the expectation, and that's the situation we're in right now. Will it change? Possibly. But right now, we're all doing exactly what we said we would, right? So I think it's, I don't think it's quite as dire as everybody's making it out to be. The residents have been put through what they've been put through. The parents are trying to adapt as well. So I think we just need to have a little bit more communication and we'll figure it out. But thanks to the traffic, to Kevin Reen, to Brian Wilson, to the police department, because they really are doing what we asked them to do. Swamptoberfest was this past weekend. It was another one of the many fabulous events that I've seen over the summer. Kudos to Recreation and what they're doing. Great stuff there. Big, huge welcome to Nick Connors. I am so glad to have you here. We have a lot of faith in you. We're not always like this. We don't usually go this late, so don't be deterred. Don't be afraid.
This is extremely average.
But we're excited for you. We're excited for your fresh perspective, new ideas, your experience, all of it. So welcome again. Look forward to working with you. And that's all I have.
Okay. I will echo all those things. I am extremely glad that we culminated this with a conclusion of Nick Connors. Proud that that's how the process happened, and excited for what the future will bring. This will be growth for Swampscott and for you, and we're going to do it together, and it's going to be fantastic, and I'm really, really excited about it. I was at the football game this weekend, and my daughter was being unruly, and she said to me, "Mom, we're at the football game, and I have no friends here." And at that moment, Gino Cresta rounded the corner and said, "Hi, Stella, I'm your friend." And that is part and parcel of who Gino Cresta is, 100%. And I am getting emotional.
Yep.
But I just want to say, he didn't let this job change who he was.
No.
He remained who he was through the entirety of this job, and that's really not easy. And so for that, I commend you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Wait, did you want to say?
Oh, did you want to say something, Gino?
No, I'm starting to get emotional, so we'll let it go for now. I'll have plenty of time to talk.
All right.
This isn't your last time. How does
I
this
have
like?
a
I know,
feeling
but
I'll be
it-
around. I'm not going anywhere.
All right. So I think a motion, I just was,
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
aye.
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 Perfect.
that tight?
Thanks, guys.